Good afternoon, everyone. I am showing 2 o'clock, so I'm saying let's get this show on the road. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna mute all of you. Right now. I'm not gonna allow you to unmute yourselves, because I've got the power. I'm taking the power over. So yes, you'll just have to deal with it. Although Dana, I've made her co-host. She may be able to unmute herself, but I trust she's gonna not do that until it's her time, though. Um, so I want to thank you everyone for being here at our March meeting, the March meeting of Minnesota MUFON 2024. And so if you're seeing like the Brady Bunch view right now, if you want to change the view, so you're just seeing the speaker, if you go up to the upper right on the screen, there should be a sign-in box and a little box that says view with like 9 little boxes. You click on that. You should be able to select speaker view. That'll just show me, and then you'll be focused on whoever is speaking at the time, which will mostly be me. So, or you can change it to gallery if you want what I call the Brady Bunch view or immersive. So that is how that all works. So I'm going to keep mine at gallery. And I'm going to jump right back into our slides because we had a lot of stuff to go over today, and we got a great speakers, so it should be really interesting to hear. I'm looking forward to hearing what she has to say. Dana Louise is with us, but yes, looks like we got 20 online so far, so that's great. I'd like to see 20. So I'm going to start right off with our slideshow. So where was I? I was right here. So let's go here. And yeah, so Dana and I were talking about this earlier. So let's see. Is this not? David Muir, if you're familiar with David Muir, he's with ABC World News Tonight. His show last night on Channel 5 at approximately 5:50 p.m. He had actually, it was funny because I was at home and my mom called me and she said, "Oh, are you near the TV? Or are you near a TV?" I said, "Well, I'm not far from a TV." She goes, "Oh, she's a big David Muir fan." She said, "David Muir is on, and he just went to commercial, and he said when he's coming back, he's going to be talking about UFOs. He's got a UFO story to do." And I looked, it was like almost 5:50, so I thought, less than 10 minutes left in the show. They'll probably use the whole 10 minutes talking about whatever the story this is. And I was surprised it was like 30 seconds or less. You might be able to find it on YouTube at some point. I haven't looked, but it's not. I was really surprised. Like I said, it was very short. The topic was like government UFO report or declassified government UFO report. And he just went really quickly through it. He said, after this declassified government UFO report, he said, there are no links to ETs. He says the US government has not recovered any ET technology. He said there are absolutely no government cover ups. And this is from a declassified report. And that was about all he said. He just cut out of it. And I thought, it's interesting that the government is going to tell us that there's no government cover up. So if you're going to try to cover up something from someone, and if you were to tell them that you weren't covering it up and that was enough to convince them, doesn't that seem a little suspicious to you? That seems a little suspicious to me, but I was really surprised to see it. So it was on, like I said, ABC World News Tonight with David Muir. They may have the whole thing on, maybe even on their website. You may be able to watch the whole broadcast. But as I said, it was in the last 10 minutes of the thing, and it was really like, excuse me, like 30 seconds. There are no links to ETs, no ET technology. There is no government cover-ups, and I was really seemed odd and suspicious and surprisingly brief. So just kind of, and while they're showing this, they're showing like a video of that famous TikTok video or Tic Tac video that we've been seeing lately. So I thought it was really strange. So I just wanted to call that out because I saw that yesterday. I thought it'd be of interest. So the March 19th Zoom meeting is sponsored by Bob Schultz. Bob Schultz is a long time MUFON member. He's been involved with MUFON for a long time. He's been on the board. He's was involved with public access television for a long time, putting ufology type programming on public access television. He was very involved with recording Minnesota MUFON meetings and our speakers. Very involved with Star Works USA. He's been a big supporter of us for a long time, and he put up some money to schedule our Zoom meeting. So I want to thank Bob for our Zoom meeting. So if you want to sponsor one of our Zoom meetings, it's $13.49 per month. And actually, so that $13.49, it covers our Zoom meeting. It supports our board meetings. When we have field investigator training, it supports our field investigator training. And seems like I feel like I'm forgetting one, but those are the main things. So in-person meeting, board meeting, field investigator training. So I want to thank you so much for making that possible. We appreciate our sponsors. Or if you want to sponsor our joke of the month, it's $10. You can send your donations to Minnesota MUFON, or if you just want to donate, send donations to jan.swenson.pioneer@gmail.com. So yeah, now my phone's ringing, so I'm not going to take that call. So I've got a meeting to run. So yeah, and our joke of the month this month, I'm kind of glad that we're not in person because I suspect if I told this joke in person, people might either riot or throw stones or rocks at me or something. So I think it's kind of funny, but you might. We'll get to the joke of the month soon enough. So. Um, So we still need and appreciate your donations to continue bringing programming every month. MUFON members, it's $5 per donation. And MUFON guests, we ask for $7, except for bringing a friend to MUFON. I'll talk about that later. So to continue to support Minnesota MUFON and our fine programming, contact our treasurer, Jan Swenson, at jan.swenson.pioneer@gmail.com. We accept PayPal, Zelle, credit cards, personal checks, and cash. And your kindness is appreciated. And I want to call this out particularly this month, because this month we're completely online, and generally we don't get a lot of donations for the people attending via Zoom, and we do need those donations. A lot of times most of our donations come from the people who show up in person, which is great, but now where there's no in-person this month, so I'm suspecting our donations are going to go down. So I'd really like to keep those numbers up, and you know what we need to do is we need to get a PayPal link that we can post in the chat regularly, so people who are online, make it easy for them to pay. So yeah, we really need you to donate this month, because without being in person, that automatically reduces our donation amount. So please consider donating. Contact Jan. And like I said, we can do PayPal, Zelle, credit cards, personal checks, and cash. So, and your kindness is appreciated. In Minnesota MUFON, you have been very kind to us. So I don't want to sound like I'm unappreciative of that, because I recognize it, I acknowledge it, and we do appreciate you. Minnesota MUFON State Director. So I can be heard on 95 KQDS radio in Duluth, not KQRS in Minneapolis, KQDS in Duluth on the third Thursday of every month at approximately 8:40, days and time subject to change. And you can see 95kqds.com for details on recordings. And so here's the deal with that. It's been consistently pretty much on Thursdays. It's been pretty consistently between 8:40 and 9. Which Thursday it's been has been very inconsistent. In fact, I think I was just on this past Thursday, so that's like the first Thursday, because we missed all of last month, and now it sounds like they might want me on in 2 weeks. So if you don't mind listening to KQDS every Thursday between 8:30 and 9, you'll definitely catch me when I'm on, but I won't be there every week. But it's just they keep changing things on me, they keep rescheduling stuff, so that's where you can hear me. But yeah, so I just want to promote that. So KQDS up in Duluth, Minnesota. And it's a Jason Manning morning show. It's a good time. It's fun. I speak for 5 or 10 minutes, and sometimes I do Q&A and stuff. So it's cool. Check it out. And I will be presenting tomorrow, March 10th at MarsCon 2024. Shh, that's classified at the Hilton Minneapolis St. Paul Airport, Mall of America, 3800 American Boulevard East in Bloomington, Minnesota, 55425. I'll be presenting in the Spy Classroom at 12 p.m. So I think they blocked me for like 30 minutes or 45 minutes, so not a long time. I'll probably do some overview on some MUFON stuff, just kind of give people an idea what MUFON is, what we do, maybe a little bit of the history. I'm probably going to bring information on 2, maybe 3 different Minnesota cases that some of you have heard of, some of you haven't. I'll probably bring info on the tin can aliens from Long Prairie, Minnesota. Probably bring some stuff on Val Johnson, and I'll probably bring some stuff on what's that? The Midway case, or also the Bug Eye case. If you haven't heard of those cases, if you haven't seen me talk about them before, I'll talk about it, probably at least 2 of them, maybe all 3 of them tomorrow at MarsCon 2024 in the Spy Classroom at 12 p.m. And so I've mentioned that we were approached by a television producer for a show called The Outer Edge. So they've spoken to me, they've spoken to Anna Scott, they've spoken to Bill McNeff and Jared Nelson. So the 4 of us are going to be involved. They're expecting to have their first show out hopefully by the end of this calendar year. The reason it's important to you, though, is because I think starting next month, when we're in person again, they are going to be appearing there. They're going to bring some cameras. They'll be taking some photographs, I think, and some video. So I just want you to know, we've got the disclaimer up at the check-in desk that, things could be recorded and stuff like that. So starting next month, we're probably going to have some Outer Edge people there for at least one meeting, maybe a few, taking photographs, I think, and some video. So if you don't want to be on camera or photographed, just kind of avoid the cameras, but they are going to be there. So I just want to give you a heads up and let you know about that. And of course, wanted to say, bring a friend to MUFON when we're back in person again. So we've got a new program called Bring a Friend to MUFON. So if you bring a friend to MUFON who's never been there before, we're going to waive the $7 donation fee for the first time. They get in for free. And each time you bring a new friend in, you can bring 5 friends for the first time. They can all get in free, as long as they haven't come to our meeting before. They can join us for free. It just doesn't get any better than that. And if you've never joined us in person and you're coming without a friend, no one's bringing you there, we'll still waive the $7 donation fee the first time you come there. So make sure you spread that around, because we want to get people down there. Hopefully they'll find it worth their time and interest, and they'll bring them back next month. And of course, field investigators, it's always a great day to log into MUFON University. So you can check your dashboard, read about MUFON University, take Astronomy 101, explore field investigator training, take professional development, MUFON leadership style assessment, presentation design 101, public speaking 101, space exploration 101, technology classes such as computers and software applications, and more. And I do want to say this. I'll talk about this a little bit later. Our case management system database is still offline. So what they suggested at the last state director meeting was, as long as people can't get into CMS, it's a great, take that time you spend in CMS, go to MUFON University and take those classes and take those skills and brush up and take the time you give to MUFON anyways, investigating a case, and do it in your own personal training. I want to do one thing because my phone was ringing. I wasn't sure it was one of you. So let's see. I can see Dana Louise right now. So Dana, I just want to make sure you can hear me. Oh, so you wave at me if you can hear me. Okay, I just want to make sure people can hear me. So okay, so that's good. So let's see. And I want you to consider becoming a MUFON field investigator. Although right now we can't get you into the database, I think you can get into the training. So we're always looking for new field investigators. So if you want to investigate, go to a MUFON, or become a part of the MUFON team, become a field investigator, go to MUFON.com, and we can help you out with that. Um, you have to do a background check, and there's some fees involved, and you have to buy the training manual and stuff. So it's I think the training manual has gone up. I think it's like 150 bucks. But and I think the background check's like 25 or so. But if you're interested in becoming part of the team in that regard, and in investigating UFO sightings in Minnesota and helping MUFON and advance the mission of exploring this phenomenon, we'd love to talk to you about it. And MUFON educates the public. That is one of our goals. So if you know of a group that enjoy a presentation from Minnesota MUFON, such as church groups or book clubs, Lions clubs, benefactors clubs, Rotary clubs, science clubs, social clubs, Knights of Columbus, schools, Boys or Girl Scouts or others, even MarsCon would like a presentation from us. I'll be at MarsCon tomorrow. So if you know a group who'd like a presentation, talk to us. Let us know. We can arrange that. We can set that up. We can customize a presentation just for that audience. And we don't do a lot of those because we don't get the requests, but we're open to the requests, and we'll probably send at least 2 people out there, hopefully, and hopefully we'll entertain your group and do some education, and it'll be a good time for all. So how about that? All right, so membership, we want everybody to become a member. So our basic membership is an e-journal, so that costs $6.89 per month or $59.88 per year. So you get your membership card, you get the e-journal, you get regular email updates, access to the members only website. You can join the Observer Network, and then access to our graphical map. And so that's the e-journal. So you get the online journal. If you want the hard copy journal, you can add $29 per year on that, and they'll mail it directly to you. And I'll show you what our current journal looks like, and I'll show you what our old journals used to look like. So the journals are really nice, full color, and actually that person on their laptop, I think that's a journal they've got up there, so they look like that. But I'll show you one of our current journals too, and as well as one of our older journals. And then our next membership is the enhanced membership, which you can join for $10.99 per month or $119.88 per year. You get a little bit more stuff in the e-journal membership, and then you get to on-demand access for MUFON TV, including live stream of the annual symposium. So that's cool. If you can't go to the symposium or can't afford the symposium, for that $120 per year, you can actually live stream the symposium right from your house. Very cool. And you get the ebook UFO Crash Retrievals of the Third Kind by Michael Schratt. So yeah, so that is our enhanced membership. And our VIP membership, which used to be our top level membership, but it's not anymore. So this gets a whole bunch of stuff. It does not include the field investigator manual or training, but you get the VIP card, certificate, hat, mouse pad, a lot of other, little tchotchkes type stuff. I know MUFON sticker, so lapel pin. So yeah, definitely the next step up. And I was surprised when we looked at where our newest members are going. Our newest members are going to the VIP memberships. I would have suspected them going to either the e-journal or the enhanced, but our newest members are mostly going to VIP, which is great. So it shows some enthusiasm on their part. So I really appreciate seeing that. And then our top level membership is the researcher membership. So that's $399. I know it makes me cough when I look at that number, $399.88 per year. So that says pre-orders begin on December 20th, and that's passed. They're already live. So again, this does not include the field investigator manual or the training, but you get complete access to Mars, and you get a MUFON mouse pad. You get all this, and actually, this doesn't show everything you get. There's more than this, but if you go to the MUFON website, you can look at all the things that you get as a researcher member. So $399.88 per year. And speaking of journals, here's that MUFON journal I was telling you about. So this is the March edition, Triangular UFO Spotted in Ontario, Canada. The one of the articles is UFOs and International Relations and UFO Reports in 2023. So it's not just the cover, like the whole journal. It's a full color journal all the way through. It's not like the cover and the back are color, and the in between is all white pages and with black and white. No, it's color all the way through. So it's really nice. And like, if you just look at that picture, I mean, they obviously spend some good time doing some good quality artwork for this. So yeah, definitely worth the investment in my biased estimation. So the March Skywatch. So we've got a new moon coming up tomorrow, and then on the 13th we've got conjunction and close approach of the moon and Jupiter. On the 20th is the equinox. Spring is finally here in the northern hemisphere and autumn in the southern hemisphere. Equal amounts of day and night. Um, and Mercury on the 24th will be at its greatest eastern elongation. A full moon on the 25th, known in the early Native American tradition as the worm moon. As the ground begins to soften as spring approaches, the moon will pass through the Earth's shadow at 4:53 and 9:32 UTC, creating a penumbular lunar eclipse. So if you want updates on scheduled space launches, you can go to spaceflightnow.com for that, and monthly sky maps for sky map downloads. And speaking of sky watches, I feel I'd be really doing you a disservice if I didn't talk about this. I hope it's my next slide. I think it is. Yes, on April 8th, there's going to be a total solar eclipse in the U.S. A total solar eclipse in the U.S. So you see, it starts down in Texas. It starts down in Texas at about I think about 1:40 Central Time, and it goes all the way up through Maine. It gets out of Maine at like 3:40 Eastern Time. So, but that's the path it takes. If you're interested, make a little trek, get down there in the path of the eclipse. It'll be right in the afternoon, so it should be perfect. Now, we had a total solar eclipse like this in the U.S. about 6 or 7 years ago, and it started in Salem, Washington, and went down to the southeast. So it was a different, it's like almost like an X for what this is. And me and some friends went down to track that one. And it was funny because I think we were down in like, I don't know if it was Missouri or, well, I don't think we were in Illinois, but I think it was Missouri. Maybe we were in Illinois. But anyways, as the eclipse started to come in through Washington State, we were looking at the sky maps, and because it was overcast where we were, we had planned a meeting, and there's this one city was going to celebrate it, so we were having this big celebration, and it was overcast. So as it entered Washington State, we're looking at the sky maps, going, everything's overcast. We're going to miss it. It's going to be cloudy anyways. We can't see it. So we thought, let's check the charts. Let's see the sky maps. Let's see if we can find a place in its route where the skies are open. And we found one. We found one like down in, I was Kentucky or Tennessee. So we all hopped in our cars. We picked like a city down there and just started bailing. Because we were trying to outrun the eclipse because we wanted to see the eclipse. So we were just flying down the freeway. And like I said, it was either Kentucky or Tennessee, I think we got. And we're coming down, we found clear skies, and then we saw this farmhouse off to the right, and there was this dirt road. So we turned off the dirt road, drove down by the farmhouse, and there was like a little dirt road going to the farmhouse. So we stopped. There's other people stopped there. There's probably a dozen or more of us there. And the people in the farmhouse, they came out and they're like, hey, you want to use our restroom or bathroom? Go on ahead. So they were like really cool. We hung out there and saw the full total eclipse of the sun. It was very cool. I'd never been in one before. And it was weird too because it lasted a while. It lasted a while. And it was funny because it got so dark, like, you know how when you're out at night, you hear the crickets chirping and stuff like that? The crickets started chirping like it was at night. So it wasn't as dark as night, but it was dark enough where like all the animals and wildlife started acting as if the sun was going down when it really wasn't. So that was kind of cool. So, and I think there's like a radio tune thing we could tune into where it would say, or maybe we got text like, it is now time to put on your glasses, or now it is safe to safely look at the sun with, and then now it's not safe. So it's kind of like giving us updates on when we could look at women. And of course, people brought different eye protection and stuff like that. So that is the path of the eclipse. And here's another look of what is going to be happening. So like I said, it starts down in Texas at 1:30, and it takes about 15 minutes to get through Texas. And then so the states it's going through, it's going to start in Texas at 1:30 Central Time. It's just going to clip the bottom part of Oklahoma. It's going to go through a big swath of Arkansas. So it's going to take, looks like 10 minutes to get through Arkansas. And I mean, that might be a great spot if you just want to, it's not a jump down 35 south, because 35 south, if you keep going south, you end up in Texas and in Dallas. And I think it goes over Dallas. But if you want heading for Arkansas, you probably take 35 south for a while and then have to jump onto something else. But and then it clips Missouri, Kentucky, and Tennessee. Hits a good chunk of southern Illinois, hits a good chunk of Indiana, gets a good chunk of Ohio, really gets Ohio, and it just clips Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, and New Hampshire, and it hits Maine at 3:30 Eastern Time, and it looks like it takes about 5 minutes to get through Maine. So if you want to vacate, if I might do that this year, I'd be tempted to go down to Arkansas. That's where I think I'd go. I'd go to Arkansas. I've been to southern Illinois so many times. Not that there's anything wrong with Illinois, but and even, well, Indiana might not be a bad spot either, but I wouldn't go as far as Ohio because I just wouldn't need to. But I think Arkansas might be a cool way to go. So, and that's the thing too. When we were down in Kentucky or Tennessee, I don't remember how long it took us to get back here, but it was a number of hours. But we could do it all in a day. I think we headed down the night before. That's what we did. We headed down the night before, got a hotel, so we were like an hour or two from where we are gonna meet, and then turned out the wrong spot anyway. So So within 24 hours, you could get down there, see the eclipse, and get back. So you can kind of see how long it's going to be total blackout or total eclipse in all those states. So hopefully you found that interesting because, we like talking about astronomy and the things that are going on with that. So cool thing to check out if you never have. And I may do it. I'm not sure yet. And then to explore the various MUFON membership opportunities or become a MUFON member, go to MUFON.com/join. And just all those, you can see all the details on all the memberships I just told you about. And MUFON is excited to announce, we're going to talk about it again, the Project Aquarius digital library. So Project Aquarius is 7 different virtual rooms. They're not actual rooms you can go to like this, but they're virtual digital rooms that you can look into. And the news clippings gallery, that's a totally free one. The other ones, there's a membership that's involved, a very reasonable price in my estimation for what you get. But let's just talk a little bit about Project Aquarius. So it may be the world's largest online UFO UAP research library. It's got articles and newspaper clippings, databases, photos and videos, interactive maps, private collections, and other media regarding the UFO UAP phenomenon, possibly the biggest one in the world. So, and we've spent decades trying to get this stuff together. And and it's been other UFO groups and private citizens and lots of volunteers making this happen. So, MUFON really wants to thank everyone who's contributed to making the Project Aquarius digital library reality. So. And let's start off with the Mars repository. So Mars is the MUFON Archive Research and Reporting System. Over 6,000 pages from 1967 to 1995 of UFO reports and sightings. That's very cool. You get access to all that. Submissions, you get the witness sketch gallery. So witness submissions of over 7,000 illustrations from our over 135,000 report database. This, I think, is a very cool sketch. I'm going to be fair. I'm betting that all the sketches aren't this detailed or this cool. In fact, some I've seen are not, but this is a great example. So this is something that's in there. And the one I mentioned it last month, I want to mention it again this month. There was a case that was submitted in Minnesota, and I think the basic, his headline was, I just saw the Starship Enterprise, like Star Trek, the Starship Enterprise, and the guy included a sketch of it. And so he put a sketch in there, and it didn't look exactly like the Starship Enterprise, but it had enough where you kind of go, yeah, it does look kind of like the Enterprise. So I'm assuming that's in this database because it's in our case management system. I'm assuming they pulled all those and put it in there. So it should be in there, which is kind of a cool picture. I showed it when I talked about it one time a number of years ago, but I don't have it handy. But yeah, I'm betting that one's in there. So yeah, lots of different cool sketches there. So that's worth checking out, especially if you're an artist and like art. So news clippings gallery. This is what I told you about. So there's no subscription required to this one. So you'll get APRO files, and APRO is Aerial Phenomenon Research Organization. Their files and bulletins, historical accounts of orbs and general UFO articles, and from newspapers and magazines. So this public domain library is free and does not require subscription. It contains 8,867 articles, and that one's from February 12th of 1953. So I'm not sure what journal that is, or where Marin County is, but yeah. So 8,000 articles, or 8,000 plus. So that's just one of the rooms. So just really an abundance of information. If you like geeking out on UFO stuff and UFO history, man, Project Aquarius is the place for you. And I should say too, to subscribe to Project Aquarius, you do not have to be a MUFON member. Our MUFON membership is not required to subscribe to the Project Aquarius. So don't feel like, oh, I got to pay for a membership and then pay for this on top of it. No, you could pay just for this, just for Project Aquarius, and get into all the Project Aquarius rooms. So the next room is the historic MUFON journal. So see this MUFON journal looks very different from the one that I showed you before. And back then, a lot of the journals were like this. This is from January 1977, even into the, I say even the 2000s. I think we were still kind of very black and white, very on much of the cover. Sometimes photographs, but drawings. It was all everything was all black and white paper. But still, there's journals there from 1967 all the way through 2010. And I think we're going to be adding more journals just to keep it current. But yeah, if you want to know what was going on, what was in the journals from way back then, we'll give you access to that. So yeah, definitely very cool, very cool. Let's see. So, and of course, the collector's collection of private researchers. So we've got private researcher collections. It's going to launch in stages. So we've got collections from Bob Pratt, who's on the left, Colonel Edward Ruppelt, who's in the center, and Leonard Stringfield, who's on the right. And Minnesota MUFON's very own Craig Lang's collection will be added there sometime in the future. So we still got to make that happen so we can get it to headquarters, get it all digitized, and get it on there. So Craig's stuff will be there, as well as other researchers that we have access to. So, and it's not clicking for me. Where's my, I'll see. Okay, I'll move the historic symposium proceedings. I talk about the MUFON symposium all the time. So we've got the symposium proceedings, like the booklet, from 1971 through 2002. We're going to keep adding current journals we added in the future. So if you ever wondered what were the big topics in 1971 or 72, who was talking, what did they talk about? You get access to look at all that stuff. So just so much information. They're going to keep updating and updating it. So yeah, just so much information for the subscription price. And of course, the last one, UFO report maps. We've got multi-level interactive UFO map, including MUFON sightings, as well as reports from other UFO and UAP reporting organizations from around the world. So this is from UFO Stalker. So isn't even a MUFON one. This is from UFO Stalker, but you can go in and look at the report maps from all these different organizations. So very cool. You can kind of see. And I'm guessing those look disc shapes, and then there's the triangle shapes. And this is just a guess. I don't know that. I'm betting that it could be what's being reported. These are discs and these are triangles, but I'm guessing it might have to do with number of sightings in that area. Like if you from 0 to so many sightings might be the disc. If you get over that many, you get the black triangle. That's a guess. I don't know. I haven't looked at UFO Stalker and how they do that, but that's what I'm guessing they're doing there. So, but still very cool to get all those UFO sighting maps. And I'm guessing it's world globally, I think, but I'm not sure about that. So don't hold me to that. So the Project Aquarius library card, you can get all that for it's on sale for $50. And like I said, I like transparency. I like being upfront and honest whenever I can. Well, I try to be upfront and honest all the time, but so it says $50 on sale. My understanding was it was going to be $50 all the time. And so I'm thinking they might have $50 on sale as like a marketing thing to encourage you to buy now. So I don't think it's going to be $100. I think it's going to stay at 50. But don't hold me to that. Maybe it will go up to 100. I don't know. But I was expecting it to be $50 ongoing continually. But yeah, but still, even at $100 per year, that's a lot of information. You could get so much information there. It's just incredible. So that's the Project Aquarius digital library. Yeah, let's see. So, oh, come on, it's not clicking again. So are you a Minnesota MUFON member? Are you interested in participating in Minnesota MUFON in a bigger way? Interested in working closer with Minnesota MUFON leadership? That would be me and our board of directors. Do you have some technology experience, or would you like some? Are you a people person? So we're looking for a few volunteers to support us with various tasks. You can help make Minnesota MUFON an even better chapter. Interested parties can speak to me or email me at mufontom@epcoachtom.com for more details. And that's one of the reasons why we're only online today, because our volunteers are so limited at this point. When Jan and Joe had to take off to go to MarsCon this month, I can't run the check-in desk and run the computers and video and present up front all at the same time. There's just not enough me to go around. So that's one of the reasons why we're completely online this time. So we just don't have the volunteers. So we'd love to have you on as a volunteer, and it could be something just simply as running some of the audio, video, the computer stuff. Or if you're interested in being on the board of directors, that's a possibility too. We will talk about that. But yeah, let me know. We'll talk about it. If you're interested in volunteering, we'd love to have you on board. And speaking of the MUFON Symposium, this year it's the Battle for UFO Transparency. It takes place at the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Irving, Texas, July 11th through the 14th. Airport Marriott. Save that date. Save that date. So let me see. I got to move this because I know it's just me my way. I know you guys aren't seeing it, but I'll put it up there. Okay. So what's happening on July 11th of the symposium? There's a field investigator training. So if you're not a field investigator, you can't. No, wait. Can field investigator? Yes, you can go to. If you're not a field investigator, you can go to it. It costs $100. And I want to be clear about this. If you're not a field investigator and you go to the training and pay your $100, going through that training does not qualify you as a field investigator. It's a totally separate process. This would be good to meet some field investigators, learn about the processes, learn about some of the updates they're learning. But going through this would not make you a field investigator. It's good for current field investigators and anyone who's curious about it. So on Friday the 12th, we're starting off. For an extra fee, you can go to the George W. Bush Presidential Center and Frontier of Museum Flight, or Frontier Flight Museum. And then at 9 o'clock, there's the state directors meeting, state directors only. And then there'll be a special event, the UFO, the Next Generation presentation by Earl Gray, Geraldine Stith, and Chanel Shantz, and Daniel Jones. And then at 7 o'clock, there's the special award ceremony, banquet, and keynote speaker, Robert Salas. And then on Saturday, we kick off an experiencer session with Sev Talk. Sev is very cool. She's one of our chapter directors, and she's presented at MUFON a number of times. So yeah, she's very. In fact, no, I don't think we have a video of her, but yeah, there's on MUFON. I think if you go check on MUFON on YouTube, there might be some Sev Talk videos. So Brad Olson on at 9, and then Dr. Roger Stankovich is on at 10:25. Then 11:50 we got Richard Beckwith, and then a special event speaker panel. So that's basically they'll be taking the speakers from the weekend. I think it's during the lunchtime up on a big panel, and we'll do some question and answer, and them speaking on a panel. Then 2:35, MUFON UFO cases with Bob Spearing. So Bob is our international director of investigation. And he's very involved. He's involved with the state. He leads our state director meetings. Bob's a good guy. He's very helpful. He works at MUFON with MUFON headquarters and whatnot. So yeah, he should have some really good insights and stuff. So 4 o'clock, we got Anthony Sanchez is speaking, and then at 5:25, Terry Tibando, and then a dinner break, and then at 8 to 9:30 is a special event which is open to everybody. It might be a movie. Sometimes it's been a movie. Could be other things. It could be a special guest speaker. I just don't know, but that's what they've got listed for now. And on Sunday, again, special experiencer session with Kathleen Marden. So if you don't know who Kathleen Marden is, let me tell you a little bit about Kathleen Marden. Kathleen Marden is the niece of Betty Hill. So Betty Hill is in Betty and Barney Hill. Betty and Barney Hill from the Interrupted Journey, the very, very famous case. And so Kathleen is Betty's niece. So she's in the family. She's a family connection to Betty and Barney Hill, who had that very famous experience. And she did a lot of the investigating with Stanton Friedman. Stanton Friedman has passed away. He was a very well-respected, well-known nuclear physicist. He is well known for investigating the Betty and Barney Hill case, and he was really key in bringing the Roswell case back up into the current public awareness. So yeah, he was key on that. So big name guy. Kathleen worked with him very closely too. So an experiencer session with Kathleen Marden should be very cool because she's on our ERT team too. Very cool. I've met her a couple times. Very nice woman. So yeah, definitely should be a cool event there. Marianne Robb and Dave Rich will be presenting at 9 o'clock, and that's very cool too because they presented to I think it's the field investigator training a couple years ago. So if I recall correctly, Dave is still in law enforcement and Marianne is retired from law enforcement or switched that. But I think Dave is active, Marianne is retired. And what they talked about is they talked about investigating UFO cases from the mind of a police officer, how they do investigations, how they gather data and gather evidence. So they bring a really unique insight because it's not just how we do our field investigations. They've got all that extra experience and training from law enforcement that they brought to it too. And it was really interesting hearing them talk because they talk about interview styles and how they do things and how that. So you hear what is it? You've heard about the good cop, bad cop routine that police officers will do. They talked about that. Not to say they will, but it was kind of interesting to hear how they brought their law enforcement experience into this talks they gave. And Debbie Ziegelmeyer. So Debbie Ziegelmeyer is very cool. She should have a great presentation. I'm not sure the topic, but I think she's the state director of Missouri. It's a southern state. I think it's Missouri. But one thing that's really cool about Debbie Ziegelmeyer is she is a trained and certified scuba diver, and she heads up MUFON's scuba dive team. You might be going, wow, MUFON has a scuba dive team? Yes, MUFON has a scuba dive team. Debbie Ziegelmeyer is the head of the team. So she's done a lot of dives for MUFON. She does a lot of underwater stuff. Very knowledgeable. She did a talk for the state, I think it was a state directors meeting just a couple months back, and just talking about, how to get certified and what it takes to get on the MUFON dive team. And it's a lot of work to get on the MUFON dive team. And Debbie's done all that. She's been leading it for a number of years now. So yeah, so that should be a really cool presentation. 11:50, Ryan Wood is talking, and then again another special speakers event panel or speaker panel with the best of ERT. Oh yeah, so that's a speaker panel, and then at 2:35, the best of ERT with Dr. George Medich. And yes, that George Medich from Major League Baseball. He's now retired from baseball. Now he's with MUFON. And Earl Gray, one of the state directors out in California. And so, yeah, they're both on ERT. And actually, George Medich heads up ERT, so that should be really cool, too. And at 4 o'clock, there's a raffle. No, need not be present to win. And then 4:10, photo and video analysis, the MUFON field investigator team. So bring your own phone, your photos, and have MUFON analyze your videos right there on the spot. And then at 4:50, Dave McDonald, our executive director, will be closing up the symposium for us. And vendors and artists showcase, they're open to all from Friday at noon to Sunday at 5 p.m. So that should be very cool. So MUFON reserves the right to make schedule changes for any unforeseen reason. But that's a whole lot of stuff and a lot of cool stuff. So I'm going to be down there, planning to be down there in Dallas, Fort Worth, and hope to see you there too. It'd be great to see a big Minnesota presence down there in Dallas. That'd be very cool to have a Minnesota presence. So I talked about those passes. The platinum pass is $489. So there's what you get. The gold pass is $339. Silver is $239. And then the add-on events, the field investigator training is $100. UFO: The Next Generation is a $50. Touring the George Bush Presidential Center is $110. Speaker panels, it's $55 for each day. You can pick your day. And the ERT sessions, $35 each day, and you can pick your day. So that's kind of a quick rundown on the prices. So MUFON is required to have chapter representation at the annual symposium, and not just MUFON representation or Minnesota MUFON representation. They want like board representation or leadership representation. So we've established a fund to send a representative down. That would be me. So if you want to donate to that fund, you can contact Jan Swenson at jan.swenson.pioneer@gmail.com. And we really do appreciate your donations for any of our stuff, for our general funds or for our meeting fees or for the symposium fund. It really helps a lot. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. Minnesota MUFON members and guests have been very, 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 very generous with us, and we certainly appreciate that. Don't want that to go unrecognized or unnoticed because we do notice that. So we couldn't do it without you. Not without you. Yes, I'm looking at you. All right, so let's see. So again, so just by coincidence, we'd like to thank all the people who've donated in the past few months because you really have been outstanding for us. We appreciate that. MUFON membership. Oh no, look what happened to our MUFON membership. We were at 102 last month and we're now down to we're down to 94. Is that, if you look closely, that frowny face? I think that might be Jared Nelson. I think it looks like Jared does. Raise your hand if you think it looks like Jared Nelson. I think it looks like Jared Nelson in the frowny face there. So yeah, so we dropped 8. So but we hope to get back up into triple digits again. And that's why I think I said it last month. Triple digits was great, but I won't really feel comfortable with it until we're like at 110 or 120. Because once we hit like 110, 120, then it's kind of solidified. Because if you look back at the previous months, so we dropped 8 this past month. So yeah, so we dropped 8. So but if you look at previous months, we drop sometimes, but it's not usually 10 or more. It's usually 10 or less than 10. So dropping 8, that's a big drop for us. But yeah, so it's not uncommon, but I really want to get to like 110 or 120. Then I'll feel really comfortable that we're solidly in the triple digits. And I know because Jared wanted to set a goal of 200, which is fine. 200 is great. But he didn't scale it back, and he said, I'll settle for 150. So he wants 150. We drop back down to double digits again. And Jared's sad. We can't have Jared being sad. That's not good. So all right. So if you need to contact me, or you can reach me at MUFONTom at epcoachtom.com. And make sure to check out the Northland MUFON website at www.northlandmufon.com. We're working on revamping the Minnesota MUFON website, so we'll hopefully have that up sometime soon. But right now, you can find all the Minnesota MUFON information on the northlandmufon.com. And Northland is kind of a cooperative between the northern part of Minnesota and North Dakota. It's like that kind of strip up there. They're kind of cooperative together. So you'll get Minnesota stuff and North Dakota stuff there too. So, but all the Minnesota stuff is also on northlandmufon.com. Thanks to Jared Nelson. Jared Nelson puts that out there for us. So, and of course, don't forget to check out the global website at www.mufon.com. And speaking of the Northland site, here's what the Northland site looks like. Jared's worked really hard on getting this up and running. So this is what you'll see when you get to Northland MUFON. And Northland MUFON is looking for more content. If you'd like to contribute an article, a story, post pictures of an ET up close and personal, perhaps you have suggestions on what should be on the website. Let us know. The site will only be as good as we make it. Together, we can make it one of the premier websites for ufology out there. Contact Northland MUFON info at gmail.com or mnmufonjer@yahoo.com. And now, I teased it earlier, the extraterrestrial joke of the month, a Star Wars edition, another Star Wars joke. Star Wars joke. And who is it brought to you by? Who's it brought to you by? Well, you guessed it. MarsCon 2024. Shh, that's classified. March 8th through the 10th, 2024. That's happening right now. Hilton, Minneapolis, St. Paul Airport, Mall of America, 3800 American Boulevard East in Bloomington, Minnesota, 55425. MarsCon is a fan-run science fiction convention for all ages held every March in the Twin Cities area. At MarsCon, you'll find panel discussions, gaming, parties, guest of honor presentations. You'll see me there tomorrow at noon in the Spy Room. Music of many kinds, an art show, a film anime room, a science room, dealer's room, a charity auction, and a masquerade. But wait, there's more. Their Con on a Con comedy music track attracts performers and listeners from across the country. A veritable smorgasbord of sci-fi, fun, and adventure. Various ticket packages available. Go to marscon.org 2024 for all the details, or just show up tomorrow with your checkbook in hand or credit card or cash. I'm sure they'll take that too. But keep it quiet. It's classified. So now, I told you, if I were in person, this joke could possibly get me stoned or it could cause a riot, but I'm gonna tell the joke anyways. So don't get ready to laugh or groan, however you feel about it. So here's our joke of the month. And if you think you know the answer to the joke, put it in the chat. So I want to see if you get the answer to the joke. So the joke is, which Jedi became a rock star? I'm pulling up the chat because I want to see which Jedi became a rock star. So put that in the chat if you think you know it. Don't look it up online, but which Jedi became a rock star? I'll give you a few seconds to figure that out. So if you got a guess, put it in the chat. If you know how to do the chat, put it in the chat. Which Jedi became a rock star? I'll give you a few more. I don't see any guesses yet. I'm hoping you can hear me. I'm hoping you can hear me. Hoping you can put it in the chat. So, okay, so I see. And Dana, wave at me again if people can still hear me. Okay, oh, people still hear me. No guesses yet. No guesses yet. Nothing in the chat. I'm gonna give you just a couple more seconds, and then I'm gonna reveal which Jedi became a rock star. Going in three, two, one. And remember, this is why I'm glad we're not in person, so you can't riot or stone me in person. Which Jedi became a rock star? Ben Jovi-Wan Kenobi. Oh, Eric DeMay, you came close. Obi-Wan. Like, you're on. You're kind of on the right track, but you didn't quite get Bon Jovi-Wan Kenobi. So that's our Minnesota MUFON extraterrestrial joke of the month, Star Wars edition, Star Wars and 80s hairband edition, I guess we could call it. So, Bon Jovi-Wan Kenobi. So hopefully you got a kick out of that. So. Let's see. So, if you'd like to sponsor the Minnesota MUFON Joke of the Month or submit a Minnesota joke to the Minnesota MUFON Joke of the Month, submit your request to me at MUFONTom@epcoachtom.com. And I do take submissions. I've had people submit jokes. I know of at least two different people who've submitted jokes to me. I've used them both because I thought they're good jokes. I like them. So, yeah, if you got a good extraterrestrial UFO joke, doesn't have to be Star Wars, doesn't have to be Star Trek. Just a good. It's best if it's like a question answer joke, like what I just did. That's the easiest one. But yeah, send it to me. And I may use your joke in the as the Minnesota MUFON Joke of the Month. And okay, so Melanie's laughing. Okay, thank you, Melanie. Melanie's laughing for me. Thank you. So Bon Jovi-Wan Kenobi, no extra charge for that. So hopefully no one's groaning too loud on that one. So all right, so. And the bad news, I talked about this last time. Our database has been hacked. So what's up in Minnesota will return as soon as possible. My apologies for the inconvenience. Now, David McDonald talked about this in the latest issue of the MUFON Journal, and I just want to share with you some of his comments that he said. So um, he said this was a really high-level technological attack, which just underscores the importance of MUFON, the work we do, and our status in the world as a leader in UFO UAP research. Some person, group, or company would go to that much effort to try to stop us is not surprising. It's also important to note that, as well as past crises, resulted in a tremendous outpouring of help from and assistance from our membership. I've said you guys are really great for supporting us. We appreciate that. Once again, our members stood up in support of MUFON and its goals and ideals. Forensics. So law enforcement is actually involved in this. Law enforcement is getting into this to see exactly who hacked our database. So investigations are currently being conducted, which of necessity have delayed our ability to reopen the system. And he expected to have this back in service by the time we read this, which was the beginning of this journal, and it's not back up yet. So as of late February, all but a tiny bit of the CMS is intact and safe. No critical data had been compromised or lost. All sites and programs have been recovered and are functional. Our PR team is in full swing to make a difference. And as I write, the restoration work is in process on CMS. Due to the nature of the forensic investigations, however, there's little more I can publish at this time. So we thank everyone of you for your loyalty and support. So, and what that comes down to is to do what's up in Minnesota, I need that database. And what I was concerned about was in the past, when I have to skip a month of what's up in Minnesota, that would mean the next meeting I have to do 2 months, or if I think I might have done 3 months once, which is a lot of information. I was worried about that. How many months am I going to have to catch up on? But then it occurred to me from the time that I last did what's up in Minnesota to the time of the hack, that's new information. No one's been able to send us any new reports since then. So really, there's been nothing coming in since that hack started. So once it's over and it's back up again, I'll have that little bit from before my last meeting and from when it comes back online to our next meeting. So it might not be that much to do in what's up in Minnesota, which doesn't sound bad, but at the same time, that whole time we're down when people can't report to us, we would have received reports, and will those people come back and report to us once the database is up and running again? So in a sense, we may have lost a lot of reports that we'll never get because of this hack. And maybe we will. Maybe people will come back and keep checking to see when they can report to us. But there's a chance we've possibly lost a significant number of reports. And yeah, we're just going to do the best that we can. We're just going to do the best that we can. I think that's, yeah, so that's, so I can't do statistics. I can't do rankings because that's all comes from that same database. So yeah, I'm sorry about that. It's unfortunate, but yeah, it won't be like a huge what's up in Minnesota. It'll probably be like a typical month is my guess. So, and hopefully next month, but I can't say that for certain because law enforcement needs it closed off, and they're doing what they're doing. They're doing the best that they can, and we'll get it back up and running as soon as possible. And that's the thing. We have new field investigators who can't even get in the database yet. So it's really unfortunate for them because I'm sure they want to get into the database and start, and and they're not getting assigned cases, and they're not investigating cases. So they may be thinking, well, I'm a new field investigator and they're not giving me any cases. Well, we're not, but it's not because you're a new field investigator. It's because no one's getting new cases right now, which is unfortunate because we have new enthusiastic field investigators. We want to get them out there and doing some stuff for us. So unfortunately, that's not happening right now. So I'm going to stop sharing so we can do the rest of our announcements. So now, so what are I'm at 45 minutes. So hopefully we'll be having, maybe we'll have Dana Louise probably coming up at let's see. So here's an option up here. Dana, here's what I'm thinking. I'm going to unmute you for a second because I want to hear your response on this. I'm asking you. So I'm thinking if I continue with my announcements, I should have it wrapped up by 3. Would you like us to just take a break when my announcements are done? And then once we come back from break, you get the entire rest of the meeting. Does that work for you? Okay. All right. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to finish my announcements and then we're going to take a break, probably about 15 minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll have Dana Louise. So all right, so we're going to jump into the MUFON mission. MUFON's mission is a scientific study of UFOs for the benefit of humanity. MUFON has 3 goals. We have 3 goals. Our number 1 goal is to investigate UFO sightings and collect that cough from my chest, collect data in the MUFON database for use by researchers worldwide, hence the Aquarius Digital Library. Worldwide researchers can get that data. Goal number 2, we promote research on UFOs to discover the true nature of the phenomenon with an eye toward scientific breakthroughs and improving life on our planet. Goal number 3, we educate the public on the UFO phenomenon and its potential impact on society. And that's what we do on the second Saturday of every month. Usually we're at the New Brighton Community Center, hybrid. Some people are remote and some people are at New Brighton, but as of course this month we are all online. So yeah, and Kathy said MarsCon is 45 on Saturday, 30 on Sunday, and MarsCon is at the airport Hilton. So yeah, thank you for that info, Kathy. So yeah, so we'll be oh, Margaret's here. I haven't seen Margaret in a long time. Hi, Margaret. Wave to everybody. Wave to Margaret. Hi, Margaret. Hi, Margaret. It's not. It's Jenny. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Jenny. I keep calling her. I don't know why I want to call Jenny Margaret all the time, but I haven't seen Jenny in a long time. Let's wave to Jenny. So yeah, so basically when we're at New Brighton, we start the meeting up at 1. We have a social hour for an hour. Imagine that, a social hour that's an hour long. We usually try to get the video started by 1:30, and the formal part of the meeting starts at 2 o'clock. So, and of course, start times vary based on the content and what we've got to talk about. So we've started earlier in the past because we had so much to go over. I rarely start later, but sometimes we started early. So to be on top of that, you want to watch a few things. You can see us on Facebook. Facebook is good. You can find us on Meetup. I think we're the Twin Cities UFO Research Group on Meetup. So you can find us on Meetup. We should updates there. And of course, our email blast. You can get us on email blast. I think if you go to northlandmufon.com, I think you can sign up for our email blast at the new northlandmufon.com website. So get the emails. That'll update you with any date changes, start times, and whatnot. So, like I've said before, I don't do this all by myself. I have lots of help running this organization. So I want to make sure I acknowledge some people. Like Jared Nelson is our assistant director. He's also on the ERT team, and so want to thank Jared. He's been working really hard. He's been doing our YouTube channel, Northland MUFON's YouTube channel, the Northland website, and he's been adding more YouTube videos up for us. He's been doing a fantastic job. So I want to give Jared a big round of applause. Thank you, Jared, for that. Want to thank Bill McNeff. Bill McNeff has been with MUFON for, boy, I don't know if he said he started I think he started in the mid 80s. So been with us a long time. He is he's on the ERT team, and he's our star team manager, and he is our new secretary. So he's sticking with us, hanging with us. We appreciate Bill for all he has done for us in the past and in going forward. So I want to give Big Bill a round of applause. Yeah. And our new chief investigator. We have a new chief investigator here in Minnesota MUFON. Linda Folkerts-Maleka is our new chief investigator. I want to give her a big round of applause. She's got a veterinary background. She's very sharp. She's very detail oriented, very committed. So I've really liked working with her so far. And we're all trying to really support Linda. So she does a fantastic job as a chief investigator. I'm sure she will, but really glad to have her on board. So yeah, thank you, Linda, for all that you do. And of course, she can't be with us here today. So Jan Swenson, our treasurer, give Jan a big round of applause. And our membership director, Ivor Matz, is our membership director. Ivor's here. Ivor's there. Wave to the camera, Ivor. There's Ivor down there. He's our membership director. He's doing a bang-up job. He's really going to work on doing digital advertising for us. He's doing some email stuff. And yeah, he's helping promote MUFON in northern Minnesota with like e-bulletin boards and things. So he's really doing a fantastic job. And he's working with our Facebook page and stuff. So I'm really happy with what he's doing. So I'm really glad to have him on board. So that's great. So our programming coordinator position is open. So if you're interested in working with the board, you're interested in being our programming coordinator, let me know because we could certainly use you. So today's meeting, I need to do an apology. So for today's meeting, we sent out an email blast And our email blast had a picture of Roxanne Lenars and had like Roxanne's background, and the name underneath it was Dana Louise, and that was not that picture was not Dana Louise, it was Roxanne Lenars. And you know, Jared does the e-blast, and I said he's been doing so much stuff between the both YouTube pages and the websites and the e-blast and the e-list. That's such an easy mistake to make. I've been in similar situations. I made similar mistakes. That's such an easy mistake to make. So I want to correct that. That picture of Rox, it's a picture of Roxanne Lenars, is not Dana Louise. So I think we resent it and switched it up. But it'd really be terrible if someone thought that it's all Jared Nelson's fault. Because if we were talking about it and someone were to say it's all Jared Nelson's fault, well, that wouldn't be a good thing, because then people might start to think that it's all Jared Nelson's fault, and we wouldn't want that. We wouldn't want people to think that it's all Jared Nelson's fault, because then people might start talking, and people are talking, they might say it's all Jared Nelson's fault. And we don't want that. We don't want that. It's all Jared Nelson's fault. That's not true. That's not true. That is all Jared Nelson's fault. So, and I'm kidding. I'm teasing Jared a little bit. So Jared, I'm sure you'll forgive me for that. So I'm just having a little fun with Jared. So again, it's a simple mistake to make, but if for some reason within the next month or two, a helicopter crashes into my house, we can say it with me. Say it with me. It's all Jared Nelson's fault. The helicopter crashes into my house. So I'm just picking on Jared. So yeah, he does such a fantastic job for us. And I know he's got a good sense of humor. So I'm thinking he'll appreciate that. So today we were going to have 2 months of What's Up in Minnesota, but not going to happen. We will have Dana Louise, and wave to everybody. Dana's up there. That's Dana right there. She's relatively new to MUFON. She's been coming to our meetings for a few months. We were really people are really getting to know her and really enjoying having her at the meetings. She will be speaking on coming out of the cosmic closet, my personal experiences with extraterrestrials. So I'll be taking a break. Well, once I wrap up my announcements, we'll be taking a break for like 15. We'll come back, and the whole time nonstop Dana Louise, and we can probably do questions or something, and but she's got a lot of stuff to talk about. It should be really interesting. People have been really looking forward to her presentation. So coming up in April, hopefully we'll do What's Up in Minnesota, but we just don't know at this point. And then we'll have the real Roxanne Lenars, not the Roxanne Lenars that goes by Dana Louise, but the real Roxanne Lenars will be here. She'll be talking on the feline planet, So May, hopefully we'll have What's Up in Minnesota again. We're working on speakers. We had a couple options for speakers. Diana Walsh Pasulka was recommended to us, and I'm interested in that. I haven't reached out to her, I haven't contacted her. So if she's not next month, hopefully we'll get her down the line somewhere, if she even agrees to present for us. So that's a possibility. But Margie Kay, who is and actually, I'm talking about Diana Pasulka. She's an author and professor of religious studies at the University of Northern Carolina, Wilmington. She has some fascinating takes on UFO UAP phenomenon, including abductions, government obstruction, and crashed vehicles, based on her extensive study of comparative religion and history and mythologies of various religions. So that's who we're going to try to get. Margie Kay is the Missouri MUFON Assistant State Director. So she is willing to talk to us on a number of topics. So I'm going to want you guys to put this in the chat. I'm going to tell you a number of topics that she's prepared to speak on. And if any of them sound like, ooh, you want to hear about that, let me know. Because if we can find the one that most people want to hear about, we'll ask her to speak on that topic. So some of the topics she talks on is fast movers. And I think this is a really fast moving UFO. I think so. Fast movers is one topic. Another topic she speaks on is the Kansas City UFO flaps. And a flap is when there's all of a sudden like a really high number of incidents. So that's considered a flap. So she speaks on the Kansas City UFO flaps. She talks on her personal ET encounters. That sounds very cool. So Kathy Blixrud likes fast move. Oh, so Kathy Blixrud likes both of them so far. So her personal ET encounters. Another thing she talks about is the 1973 UFO flap. So I don't know if that's so far Kathy Blixrud is voting for all of them. So thank you, Kathy, for neutralizing all of your votes. So the 1973 UFO flap, and that I'm not sure if that's a nationwide flap she's referring to or a local Kansas flap. So, and she says she speaks on more. Oh, you're writing them down. Okay. So yeah, if you want to know what the topics are, Kathy's written them down in the chat. So put in the chat which ones you would like to see most, and then we'll pick that and we'll talk to Margie. So Margie will come and present for us. So, and like I said, she's a Missouri MUFON Assistant State Director, so it should be a really good presentation. So yeah, that's should be very cool. So let us know which one you'd like to hear from Margie, and we will contact her and see if we can get her to do a presentation for us. And yeah, so that takes care of upcoming meetings. And the reality of it is too, there's a very good chance that we'll be doing some video presentations in the afternoon, and videos like either from the MUFON Symposium or from Starworks USA. We've got permission to use Starworks. So Eric, does thumbs up on one you want. I'll vote. Okay. Yeah, so oh, I see. He's saying go to Kathy's comments and give a thumbs up on what you want. So that'd be easy. That's a good idea, Eric. Thank you. So go to Kathy's comments of what the topics are and give the ones you want a thumbs up. And whichever one gets the most thumbs up, we'll ask Margie to present on that. That's cool. Thank you for that recommendation, Eric. Good idea. Um, yeah, yeah. So, oh, and so we may be having videos from Star Works USA and from MUFON symposiums. There's a couple that sounded really good. So, we may be doing some of that because, yeah, just there's some logistics that makes it easier to do that. So, Minnesota MUFON has a YouTube channel. We've got over 1,660 subscribers, 51 videos. Now, for the longest time, we had like, I don't know, 26 or 28 videos, and we were at that number for like months or years. It just stuck at like 26 or 28. We're up to 51 because of Jared Nelson. Because of Jared Nelson, we're up to 51. And I think last month we were at like 48 or 49. So even the past month, he's put a few more up there. So got to thank Jared for that. So go to our MUFON YouTube channel and subscribe to the channel. And you'll see videos out there from Paula Harris, who is the former owner of Star Works USA. She's been up here in Minnesota at least twice, maybe three times. Her presentations are out there. She talks about Ken, no, not Ken Storch, Colonel. So she worked with oh no, I'm blanking on all the names. J. Allen Hynek, and she worked with some other guys, and she's done Colonel Corso, done presentations on that. So she's got great presentations. And then we got videos from Ken Storch, Sherry Wild, Ted Phillips, Grant Cameron, Minnesota MUFON members, Joe Swenson, the late Craig Lang. We had an experiencer panel that's up there, and there's some What's Up in Minnesota episodes up there. So if you want to see what I talked about in What's Up in Minnesota at various meetings, that's if you're like going, man, there's something in What's Up in Minnesota I really liked, and I can't remember what it was. Go onto YouTube and find the month and check it out, and hopefully it'll be on there for you. Cool. So I'm showing just about 3 o'clock, and that's what I was expecting to take a break at 3 o'clock for 15 minutes. We'll do a 15-minute break, and then we'll come back for Dana Louise, hear her presentation on coming out of the cosmic closet, my personal experiences with UFOs. So now we're gonna go to our speaker. Our speaker today is Dana Louise, and Dana, she'll be presenting on coming out of the cosmic closet, my personal experiences with extraterrestrials. So Dana Louise is a wife and mother of two. She grew up in Fridley and now lives in the St. Paul neighborhood. Dana has worn many hats in the past. She was a finalist on a Norwegian reality show, a food truck owner, a Reiki master teacher, a minister, a TFT level 2 practitioner, a death doula, and more. Her personal experiences with the weird and paranormal are all laid out in her memoir. This is gonna sound weird. Minnesota MUFON, please help me welcome Dana Louise. Welcome, Dana. You should be able to unmute yourself, I think.
There.
Cool.
Hey. Hi, all. Sorry, I'm a boomer. Technology is not my first craft. You know what I mean? So, born in 1962. Hello. So, thank you. Thank you, Tom. Can you hear me? Are we able to interact? Okay. So you can't talk, but
Well,
I can.
I can. Do you want me to be up so I can talk or?
Yeah, we can have a rapport, but I mean, okay, so here's the deal. Thank you to Tom and Bill. First of all, I'm just gonna, like he's like, can you talk for 2 hours? And I'm like, is that all you got? So thank you. Um, Let me unfold this for you. I don't know how to start. I wrote a book about my experiences, and then I kept that very cloistered because for most of my life, I kind of knew that I didn't want other interferences coming in and disrupting my memories. Because each time you go into one of your memories, you're just recalling your memory. So it's kind of like a diminishing return. It's very, very hard. And I knew all my life I wanted to keep this very clean. So people say, hey, do you know this guy? Do you know that? Did you watch this podcast? Did you know that? No. And I think a lot of people have a shock with that. So just let me kind of start off. I grew up in Fridley. I was born in 1962. And so I don't know, welcome to all of you who are from the Twin Cities and around this area. I'm probably older than you. You don't know, I mean, you might not know what was going on. So back in the 60s, we had a lot of Korean War veterans coming in. You know, we had telephones on the wall, all this kind of stuff. And I'm just gonna like reference to a certain point in Fridley history, May 6, 1965. We had 7 tornadoes in our area, and it was just really interesting from MUFON's perspective because I feel like MUFON is really scientific, we're factual, all these kinds of things. We want data, la 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 la. So I'm referencing this because if you go back and you look at it, and actually at the Science Museum in St. Paul, they have a little like dugout house, like being in a basement, and what it would be like in 1965 to experience these 7 tornadoes and everything like that. And WCCO and all these different radio casters were like chiming in. I think they were using their military skills to be like, okay, that's this point at this time. At this point, they were giving, you know, certain data points at certain times, which was very military, you know. So for me, my dad was in the Korean War, and he was a you know, radio operator in a tank and all this kind of stuff. So this chimed with me. You know, I understood this being under military control and everything like that, and it really spoke to me. So hearing these guys, WCCO or whatever, KSTP, you know, we only had like 3 stations back then, and they were all chiming in on coordinates and everything like, here's the ping, here's the ping, here's the ping, here's the ping, which was like very reassuring to me as a child. I know you're going to be like, oh my God, because I was like 3 years old. How was that reassuring to me? Well, here's the deal. And like I said, I was born in 62. I'm going to be 62 in April. So whatever the hell, oh, excuse me if I'm swearing. That is, you know, they have golden birthdays and whatever. So my experiences, my first memories are not of my parents at all. Like pretty much ever. My first experiences and memories are about me being in my crib and having gray aliens visit me. Okay, so here's why I'm saying coming out of the cosmic closet. And here's why I waited all these years. Because if you say that to somebody, everything of who and how you are, anything you've built up, and it doesn't matter your degrees or this or that, suddenly you're like, people don't believe you anymore. You're discredited if you say you've had some kind of galactic encounter. You know, so how is that? And I knew that in the moment that it happened when I was an infant, and we're going to go into that in a minute, and I'm going to describe all of these things. But just for a minute, I want to talk to you about who and how the Twin Cities were and was. And I'm going to just tell you right now, I have a sense of humor because what else are you going to do? Cry? Okay. So I've experienced a lot of things, and I resolve that with humor. So let's go back to the 60s. A lot of men are coming back home. Well, there's a lot of World War II people, but a lot of first Korean, the Korean policing efforts, whatever you want to call it, because that's what they called it back then. And these men came home with these military encounters. So we have all that. So my dad was in Sperry Univac, and then he was with the supercomputer. And I was just recently given a file. So, you know, there's all kinds of behind the scenes stuff. So I was recently giving a file, a secret file that disclosed that my dad was working with NASA and all these kinds of things. Because when Tom contacted me, he's like, you know, why you know, and that is the question, why me? And that's the thing, like, how did this happen to you, and why do you think this might have happened? And I think most of us, I'm just going to say, you're intelligent people. We're all trying to figure that out. So it's like, is it military contact? Is this a spiritual thing? Is it a government thing? We're all trying to discern those kinds of things. And I'm going to tell you, me too. I'm going to tell you also, I had contact with the ETs up until I was the age of 10 with the Greys. And after that, a different group took on and stuff like that. So I've had firsthand contact and witnessed things, which is what differentiates me from other people. I'm a contactee. I'm an experiencee. I'm a an operative. I don't even know how to describe myself. But trying to go back, here's Fridley, here's the Twin Cities back in the 60s. Everyone, like my brother and sister, they all had drills like you had to go under the desk because, there was going to be a nuke and, all these kinds of things. We didn't have that. Bay of Pigs was basically when I was in the womb, blah, 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 blah. But let's go forward. I mean, that's the whole thing, coming out of the cosmic closet. If I tell you the things that I've experienced for my whole life, I think I don't mean you personally, I mean you is in general society, no one's going to believe me. And I knew this as an infant. So let's go to my first contact. It's night and the house is asleep. And back in the day, back in the 60s, we used to have these like we didn't have window blinds. There was like a slidey thing, like a shade. And it was on a magnetic reel. I don't know this. I'm a baby. I'm swaddled. I've got diapers, okay? And but because my life wasn't bucolic, I think when you have a certain experience like this, when your life is threatened, you wake up. You wake up like immediately. You're tracking, you're online. You're not asleep anymore. Okay. So my experience was I'm laying there, I'm a baby, I'm asleep. So there was nothing before that. Next thing I know, I look over the well, first of all, the shade snapped up. The magnetic release, the what do you call it? Clutch. Let go. The shade went up. I'm an infant. I shouldn't know what this means. I mean, I shouldn't have ideologies of what all of this could convey in the household. But I do. So what I'm understanding in this moment as an infant is like, that's wrong. You woke me up. Where are my parents? What's going on? I had all these questions. So for anybody that has a baby, please don't look at them as if they're incoherent or, stupid. They're not. And I will tell you that my brother and sister can substantiate my memories and how I recall things that they don't going through our lives together. So the shade goes up, which draws my attention to the window. I look to the window and there's this thing. Okay. So in this state, you have to make a decision. I'm just a baby. I can't tell you, am I 9 months old? Am I 3 months old? 12 months old? I don't know. I know I have a diaper. I'm in a crib. I know those things to be true. And I look over there and here is this gray bubble head. That's how I can, this gray bubble head, as in my infant self, there's this gray bubble head and it's looking at me with these black eyes. And I'm not frightened. I just take it in. I don't know how to take it. It's information for me, right? I'm like, whatever. I know it's wrong. Okay. And in that same moment, I am feeling a vibration and I'm hearing a hum. And there's a light that's going on in the room that's like trekking all over. It's a bizarre light, like you've never seen this light. And I'm going to tell you, as an infant, I understand that. I understand that that's not a normal light. How can that be? Like, I don't have answers for you. I have questions, and they're not for you, but like, I can't describe or tell you, and I can't answer it. I'm just telling you my experiences. And this light was going around. I do think I was feeling like anxiety. Um, and going to tell you, not in this first experience, but in one's other, like the next second or third time, I could hear bumbling, like it sounded like paper in the room when they came. So on the first experience, we have the window shade, we have this gray bulbous head. It's looking at me, and I can't exactly tell you that it was smiling, but it seemed to. The mouth was like this weird flap. It's disconcerting. I know it's wrong. And the next thing I know, there's faces that are the same over the crib. I'm out. Okay? I'm out. And this repeated over and over again until I got older and older. And then at a certain point, I recall being walked around in my room. Okay. So that sounds crazy. That sounds bizarre. Let's go back to what was happening at in the Twin Cities area. Okay. Like I said, my dad was an electrical engineer. He was working with Spirit Univac. I've just been given the papers that there were secret programs, and he was talking to NASA, and he was working on the supercomputer. And at his funeral, a man came up to me and my sister and said, I don't know why your dad was fired. Um, and I don't know if he was with Honeywell or Spirit Univac at the time, because he said, working in Bloomington, he's like, your dad changed the supercomputer, which if you're tracking and you understand what I'm saying about this, let's go back to Eisenhower. I'm like, I'm telling you too much at this. I'm just so excited to talk to you. So, there was a lot. We have the supercomputer going on, and we have ordinances in the Twin Cities area. We have in Shoreview, New Brighton, Arden Hills, we have the TCAAP ordinances, which is I think they're with the Navy. We have FMC in Fridley, which was just like a mile down from my house. And we have the Anoka ordinances that were going on, which was more like bullets and stuff like that. So we had all of these things. And a lot of us children at the time were thinking, like, if there was going to be a nuclear bomb, if Russia was targeting us, we would be ground zero. We always kind of felt that way, or at least I did. At least me and my friends, because this is what I was aware of. Something was going on. And how do you tell people? How could I tell my parents? And I don't believe anything unless I see it and or experience it. I judge it. I don't believe in it. And it wasn't until like I was just a few years ago, maybe 10 years ago, um, met up with a neighbor who lived behind me. And, she's just perfectly, just this normal person, just very sweet, not into UFOs or anything like that. And we're meeting up. And I start to tell her, I don't know why, I start to tell her about my UFO experiences. And in my head, I'm sitting there going, oh my God, don't tell her these things. She's going to think you're crazy, and she's never going to talk to you again. Right? I mean, she was your best friend, but she's never going to talk to you again after all these years, whatever. I'm like, I'm having all this anxiety. And the thing of it is like, she put her hand on my hand and she stopped me. She paused me and she said, Dana, I remember the vibrations. I remember the sound, and I was petrified. I didn't know what was going on. And so in that moment, her and I kind of went into her thoughts and her background. Had she been contacted, or what went on for her? And so there's a huge part of me that's like, for a lot of, what you hear in the media and, on different TV shows is like all these ships or something are silent. And that's true. And that's true. But for me, it wasn't. And recently there was a TV show and it talked about Travis Walton. And maybe I heard of him a long time ago. Like I said, I try not to research other people or other things, but I saw this and I'm like, and now that I wrote my book, I'm like, okay, I can look at other people's stories. And his story chimed very similar to mine with the humming and the vibrations and everything, and what he experienced when he went into the ship. Um, and I'm gonna say to you, I'm like, we're just starting on what my adventures are. But there's a huge part of me that I don't want to go into. I don't think I want to go into hypnosis. I don't think I want to recall everything that happened, because we'll go into this later. It's upsetting, and I don't want to go into it. So let's go back to the 60s. Let's go back to research. Let's go back to actual things that were actually happening. So actually the supercomputer was being born in the Twin Cities, and the Twin Cities had a lot of ordinances. Okay. And I'm just gonna maybe I'm gonna like bring up my little I'm a boomer. Let me bring up my little share screen and I'll show you some. Here, I'll show you some pictures. Share. Okay. So, view slideshow. Here we go. I'm hoping you guys can see this. So, this is my book. This is me. And I wrote my book. I didn't want to write my book. But suddenly I'm kind of like, oh my gosh. Uh, my kids are in their 30s. I don't know when they're going to have children. They don't even have dates. So just as I never met my grandparents as an adult, it's pretty much impossible I will ever be able to talk to my grandchildren as an adult. So I had to write this book as a legacy, because if this uh tumbles down, if I don't know, does this go through lineage or is it exposure? I'm not quite sure. So if it's lineage, I gotta write this stuff down, because my sons, they'll never remember this. They're not gonna remember this. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm hoping you can see it fully. Anyway, this is it. This is me coming out of the cosmic closet. Yeah, I didn't want to tell anybody. Why would you? And apparently there's people that are faking it, which cracks me up. Like, why would you fake it? And I'll tell you what, people who have actually experienced aliens or UFOs know better. And I want to talk, because there was a little bit of discussion about UFOs and stuff like that. I just kind of thought that everybody saw UFOs when they looked at the sky. I mean, because that's my experience. I didn't know you didn't. And people are on their phones now, so everybody's looking down. I think it's epically now a time to look up. So here's me. This is me in the 70s, right after Animal House. This is my tie-dyed toga. So yeah, my junior year, hey, I'm a hippie. Okay. I've also been a food truck owner. I had gourmet mini donuts. I was on a reality show. So here's a poignant thing. Let's get into this. August 1970. There's me and Jen. This is the woman that I met years later, who could witness for me that she was petrified about the aliens and the vibrations that she experienced. This is her older sister. I'm a little tall. This girl's in between. Well, actually, this girl's older than this girl. And I'm gonna the reason why I put this girl in my book is because I start my book off with having, okay, you're not gonna believe this. There was a metal screen, I'm gonna call it a microchip, that came out of my back. It was witnessed by other people. And it happened, I think, in this girl's backyard because her dad was my dad's boss and they worked on the supercomputer. So if you want to go into thinking there was alien disclosure, alien swapping, technology for human experiences or whatever. Yeah, here it is right here. And so you could say, oh, Dana, you're so goofy. This is August. And here I am. Let's fast forward. So you could say that I'm imagining what's happening to me, blah, blah, blah. But my parents were highly involved in politics on top of the supercomputer. And here we are, Rochester, Minnesota, October 29th, 1970, a day I will never forget. I remember how dismal it was. I got pulled out of elementary school. My parents drove me down to the airport. We picked up these, I picked up this badge. Imagine that. And walked out to the tarmac. And here comes Air Force One. What? Air Force One. And out pops Pat Nixon, who hands me a rose. And then she just walks off. Basically, I don't even recall if she said anything to me. I kept the badge, I kept the rose. I was interviewed by the radio stations. There was not TV there at the time. This was a kind of a rah, rah, rah for the political campaign. Here we go. Rockford, Illinois to Rochester, Minnesota. And why I'm bringing this up and showing it to you, because we got the president. And Mrs. Nixon is not mentioned here at all. So now we have Rochester, Minnesota to Nebraska. These are the official use only notes. You know, say, okay, you know what? I'm telling you guys, I'm a nerd, I'm a geek, and I go in and I look at all the things to make sure that everything I'm saying is clear and true. And here's the president again. And Pat is not mentioned once again. And I don't think you can actually see all of this. So anyway, so, oh, and here it is. Here's the, here's his daily diary of what he's supposed to do for the day. So what I'm telling you is true. So there are some people that are going to be of a specific bend. Why was this little girl brought out to an airport and Air Force One rolls up and she is handed a rose? You know, because Tom's like, oh, why do you think the aliens came and visited you? And I have a lot of excuses and thoughts as to why. And they're all going to sound strange, but I'm going to tell you, number one, my mom always told me, anything you can believe on this planet is a limitation, because what is actually going on is greater than what you can believe. And I kind of took that to heart. And so what you can imagine is a girl this age, and when she goes to bed and her mother says, you know, my mom had a prayer, was, now we lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. Well, I'm telling you, I had great aliens over my bed. So when you're saying that, I take it in a very different way. It was very much upsetting. And I couldn't say it to anyone. How can you say these things? It's almost, to me, I'm sorry, a form of abuse. I don't, intuitively, I knew you don't talk about it. You don't talk about it. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. That just really hurt. If I die before I wake, man, you know, ouch. I pray the Lord my soul to take. Oh, I'm sorry. Who's the Lord? Is that different than God? I don't know. But this was difficult for me. This was difficult for me. And I'm going to tell you, if you know me now and you meet me, I'm very jocular. And why am I jocular? I think I'm jocular the same way my dad was jocular. Because in the Korean War, he found himself behind the enemy lines. He was in a very important skirmish. Everybody pretty much died. He saw a lot of death. And when you face death, you wake up, you cherish your life. So this little girl right here, yeah, I'm super happy to be alive every day that I wake up. And in fact, in 1965, that wasn't a big deal for me. 7 tornadoes coming in and stuff like that. I took it as like, yeah, whatever. What more do you have? I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I'm saying that because you think that's a little salty. But I'm telling you, this 3-year-old, 7 tornadoes. And I'm telling you, the tornado was right across the street, one of them at Lock Lake. Lock Lake. My dad showed me. I mean, you could see the trees were bending and all this kind of stuff. And I just took it as a witness because I think that is what I had become at this point. And I'm telling you that I think that there was something going on, why I was brought out to this event as a special guest. You can have your own conclusions. I don't know how to conclude it. I do know, okay, let's go forward here in the Twin Cities. And what's specific? Okay, we have the ordinances, right? And there's a bunch of other things that are going on in the Twin Cities that MUFON is not going to want to talk about or understand and stuff like that. You'd have to get my book because there's another layer. There's another layer. There's a huge other layer. It has to do with the Ford Motor Plant and the TCAAP, blah, blah, blah. But here we are, Twin Cities today. And at this time, I couldn't find an advertisement from the time that I want to talk to you about. So we're going forward. This is what, 1970. We're going forward, wait, about 6 or 8 years. Okay. So what I'm going to tell you is that I feel like I'm having this communication, this beginning of this communication with these aliens. Um, and I'm going to tell you again, coming out of the cosmic closet, this isn't something fun or something that I want to disclose to anyone, right? To me, it's almost shameful. To me, it separates me. It separates me from you. I just want to be a normal person. I want to have a normal life. Okay, so on this particular day, Twin Cities today was at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I've been trying to hunt that down. I can't, but I know it's talked about. So here's what happened. This particular night, I'm sleeping. I wake up. And I do this often because I witness a lot of UFOs and overhead battles and things like that. I know it's a lot. And I wake up and I go and I look out the window and I can see the Twin Cities. The trees were, the tree line was a little bit lower. I can see the IADS tower. And in that moment, I don't know what hour it is. And I see a UFO flying from north to south. And to the right, which is where this UFO is going, is the Mississippi River. And number one, I'm going to have to tell you that a lot of the UFO elements run up and down the rivers. They trek the rivers. Okay. So anyway, I witnessed this and then I go back to bed. So I think that's hilarious because it's like I wasn't woken up to go to the bathroom. I didn't have to do anything, like there was no other reason. It's like I was a automaton, a robot. I just woke up, I witnessed it, and went back to bed. That was the story. For me, great. I've done this a million times. I've witnessed a lot of things. So the next day I go to school and I come home and my mom's ironing. Remember? Mom's ironing. Maybe your mom ironed sheets. My mom put them out to dry. Oh my gosh, sheets smelled so good. They put them outside. Oh, they smelled so great. But my dad, he was middle management. He was an electrical engineer and she's ironing. That's what she did. And Twin Cities Today was on, Stephen Sharon. And at the end of the show, it's kind of like Twin Cities Live. We have Twin Cities Live today with Elizabeth and everything like that, and I love them. And but at the end of Steve and Sharon, they would open up the telephone lines and they would say, "Oh, caller," la, 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 and they could just breeze about whatever. Usually, it was hot dish recipes or brownies or something like that. You know, just blah blah blah, Minnesota hot dish, whatever. But on this particular day, okay, this is 3 in the afternoon. Let's set it up. 3 in the afternoon. Who's home at 3 in the afternoon? Especially this is 1970s. Most men are at work, right? Most people. They open up the phone line. They expect to talk about hot dish, and it's a man. So right away, that's like, whoa, it's a dude, because usually it's ladies, my pickle recipe, So there's the dude, and he goes, "Hey, did anybody hear about that? Or anybody see that alien spaceship last night?" And I was like, "What?" And boop, they cut him off. Well, right in that moment, I'm kind of like, "Hey, didn't they have like a producer that was like fielding these questions? Like, how did this guy get through?" Because normally back in the day, I don't know how old you are, but the phones hung on a wall. I'm in the living room. The phone was in the kitchen. And, you know, if you called a TV show, you talk to a producer or a director, whatever. And they'd be like, "Hi, who are you? What's your question?" Blah, blah, blah. Before you went online, you were filtered. The fact that this man just blurted out there was, this UFO. And I was like, yeah. I was like so excited because he was kind of like the first confirmation that I had as to with a person of what's going on. Because really, you're not going to see any aliens back in this day. Really, on TV? No. The closest we had was Quisp. Quisp cereal. Does anybody remember Quisp cereal? I think that was with Boo Berry and Frankenberry, all this kind of berry kind of baloneyism and stuff like that. But when you saw an alien, they were googly eyed and they were green or something like that. So you never saw a real rendition and you never would get a confirmation. And I'm sorry, there wasn't really any bookstores. Where are you going to get references? There was no place for me to land. And I'm going to go into that, another side of that in a minute here. Because like, Tom, you said I could talk for 2 hours. Anyway, so, okay. They hung up on the phone for him. "Oh, next caller, please, Steve and Sharon. Oh, next caller, please." Because, they're the hosts of a Minnesota afternoon TV show. And here's the beauty part. The next caller was another dude. And he said, "Yeah, I saw it. Did anybody else see the military personnel following it?" And I was like, "Booyah." And he got hung up on. Of course he did. And I'm sorry, but it was probably 3:55. And normally they probably cut to commercial break at 3:58, 30. You know what I mean? There wasn't so much commercial time, but this was an epically long commercial time. And I was like, I'm done. And I flew into the kitchen and tried to get on the phone, but the phone line was busy. And it was busy for the next couple of hours. There was no way for me to get through. And I'm a kid, so nobody's going to help me. And the next day that I came home from school, I just started calling KSTP because I wanted to say, who were those dudes? Did you get their number? Blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, I'm like, the little voice in my head is like, they never asked for their names or number. They hung up on them. They don't care. But what I'm telling you, you guys who live around here, at KSTP, that beta tape is probably still somewhere, which just affirms my story but it affirms their story, but it affirms what's going on. Now, as I grew older and stuff like that, talk to people that live over in Stillwater, because almost every Stillwater resident can tell you about the aliens that are going over there. And I think next month they're having a lady talking about some water stuff or something, blah, blah, whatever. But here's the deal. Wouldn't it be perfect to have a station on this planet in the water where nobody else is? Duh. Doesn't that make sense? And there's some UFO films of spaceships going in and out, blah 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 blah, of water around the world. Another disclosure. What I'm gonna go back to my childhood again for a hot second, because here I am. I'm a baby. I'm experiencing these aliens. They're coming, and nobody's stopping them. I'm just taking it. So here's how it happened. As I got older, I sometimes wouldn't remember that they visited me, but I had different aspects that would go on. Like I'd pass certain electrical fields because closer to the 70s, we started to have, well, in my family at least, we didn't have a lot of money. And my dad was so proud. I think it was like 1970, about this same time, we got a digital clock. And every time I passed the digital clock or any kind of digital anything, we had disco stuff, I would screw it up and I get blamed. And it's like, I'm not doing it, but it literally is my infrared, my infrared frequency that's going out and disrupting different technology at the time. So my dad, much to his chagrin, is like, why is my clock screwed up again? It was over, the refrigerator, and you have to like take it down and reset it. But I kind of thought that was pretty cool, and because I knew I was doing it. My sister knew I was doing it. She was 7 years older than me, and I'm kind of like, she was bigger than me. She could sit on me. She could tickle my feet. She could bully me. I had nothing. But I did have this speciality. I kind of felt like, aren't I special a little bit? She kind of like blamed, well, you just have static electricity buildup or something. And I discharge the static electricity and show her again, blah, blah, blah. So the only realm that was sanctuary for me was going to church. Yes and no, because my parents were of a Christian faith. They were Lutherans, and I just got more and more upset as the years went on, because there was the Nicene Creed that said, we believe in all things visible and invisible. And I literally took that as spiritually, and I also took it as scientifically, as a scientific quandary. And I literally tried to apply this to the adults, and the adults seem to be, I don't know. I'm like, they did not believe in all things visible and invisible. And I'd say, hey, don't you believe in the Holy Spirit, the Holy Ghost, or anything like, I'm 4 and 5 years old and 6 years old, and I'm trying to quandary these adults because I'm trying to find somebody who can talk to me about the things that I know and that I'm experiencing. It's very upsetting. And so like today I'm saying it's very upsetting for me, for somebody that I think is false and fake about their experiences, if they are not actually a contactee and experiencer, because I can sniff them out. I'll know in a hot second. I don't know how much time. Let me look, because like I can, like, I'll talk forever, but I got a lot of stuff, and okay, it's almost 4 o'clock. Let's move up to I'm gonna kind of like jump some time.
Say Dana.
I'm gonna jump a little bit ahead.
Just say Dana.
Yeah.
I got someone asking about questions. Are you open to taking questions?
Yeah, I'll take a question for sure.
Cool. Throw a question in the chat. If you got questions, throw them in the chat and I'll pass them on to Dana. But I don't see one right now, but they'll probably be typing it in just a second. But go ahead and I'll let you know when one comes in.
Okay, great. So here's the thing. I'm gonna like really fast forward. Um, I'm gonna describe the situation and I'm gonna describe what I learned afterwards. So, fast forward, I'm married, I'm living here and all this kind of stuff. I have two children. I have other experiences that might pertain to a lot of this, but for MUFON's sake, we're going to talk about aliens and all that kind of stuff. So, uh, all right. So my husband and this is a little TMI. My husband and I, we have two children and we have like this house, like most houses in the Fridley, you know, area, la la la. You usually have three bedrooms at one end. Like, who thought that was a great idea? Like the parents, and when your babies are little, it's great, but if you want some privacy as an adult, that's not so great. Well, thank God it's like the early 90s and they had these little baby, walkie-talkies and stuff. So my husband and I on a Friday or Saturday night, we'd have our time and we'd go downstairs, we'd have a fire, we'd do some daiquiris, all this kind of thing. And number one, my husband is a total muggle. He doesn't believe in any of this stuff. So I'm just going to say that right now. And I don't believe in any of it either. I'm just going to say that right now. I don't believe in anything. I don't. I don't believe in, I'm sorry, crop circles. I don't believe in a lot of things. I only believe in, I don't believe, I experience and then I know. And that's all I have to offer you. So this particular night, blah, 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 another Saturday night, and we're sleeping. And I hope this makes sense to you, but after having an intimate time and our children are little, we have our clothes on, because what if there's a fire or an emergency and I don't want my children seeing me, whatever. Um, so we're modest. And we go to sleep, and both our heads are at the same end of the bed. All of a sudden, I wake up and my head is over the foot of the bed. And, I'm feeling it in my neck and all this kind of stuff. So I'm feeling it. And I wake up, uh, my eyes pop open. I'm upside down. Literally, my view is upside down. And there are these short entities. And these short entities are waddling into the one only doorway into this room, and they're waddling and I'm witnessing them, and I'm just like, I'm witnessing them. And one of them kind of pulls out, and I believe she was female. She felt female in a way or something. And they all look the same to me, nondescript, so I couldn't tell if there was a male or female or whatever. But I'm going to say that these entities had kind of like that floppy feet underneath, like ET would have. ET's body was more, you know, you know, uh, tighten it up. They were more square, okay, and they were sharp. Their features are very sharp, and their hands were like not really. They were flappy, and they're coming in, and this one entity kind of pulls to the side. The rest are coming through, and telepathically, because every um encounter I've had, it's all telepathy. And this one telepathically says to me, "Oh, are we frightening you?" And I said, "Yes." And in that moment, all of them shapeshifted. Um, they softened. They had more round features. And I'm gonna say to you right now, because like I have so much to say, and I just kind of like at every point, and I'm sorry if I miss out on some things, and I'm sorry if I interrupt my train of thought, but I'm gonna talk to you about entities because they're real. Um, and a lot of it has to do with frequency, because this planet, everything is about frequency. And so with frequency, it's telepathy and shape-shifting. Okay.
Could you take a question or two real quick? Could you take a question or two real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask the first one. So a couple people want to know if you're willing to talk beyond 5 o'clock. They want you to, they say they could listen to you for hours. So do you want to keep going after 5? Because we
Yeah.
really don't have to. Okay. So
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes. And then I'm
Yeah.
going to unmute someone. He wants to ask you a question. So I'm going to unmute Ivor, and he'll ask you his question directly.
Great. Is he ready right now?
He's ready. I just got to get him unmuted. So yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Dana. So I have a couple of questions about your experiences. And these questions are going to sound a little strange, so I'll just ask them, I want you to know in advance that they are without judgment. Okay.
Great.
The first question is, how many hours a night do you sleep continuously?
Oh, that's a great question. Back in the day, I slept. I've never had a problem with sleeping. It's up until recently, menopause. I've had some challenges, but I've also found a way to go into some deep sleep. And in my book, you'll understand that more because I've had some contact, and I know that's going to sound, I've had some contact that I didn't understand in my book. There's a lot of new things that are coming up, and it might be ET contacty stuff, but I sleep pretty well. So, also in my book, I also talk about, my psyche. Uh, you know, how was I as a child or a person? Am I psychotic? Am I on any prescription drugs? I am not on prescription drugs. I am against pharmaceuticals. I'm for farms, FARMs. I try to keep very clean. I have also stayed away from, outside of social media and stuff like that because I knew my story was like specific to me and I wanted to cherish it. So I hope that helps you. I try to eat clean, be clean, and I sleep very deeply. But part of that is also that I've had interactions during my dream time, very deep out of body experiences.
So how many hours now do you sleep continuously?
Oh, my Lanta. Sometimes I'm exhausted at like 7, 8 o'clock, and I can sleep to 5, 6 in the morning or something. It varies, and also it times out with the moon. And I hate to admit that, but if it's a full moon, I sleep a little less. If it's a new moon, such as what we're experiencing now, I go deeper. And there's a lot of Dreamtime, Dream World stuff, and that's also in my book.
Okay. Next question. You mentioned in your earlier experiences, even as a babe in the crib, you experienced a vibration. Do I have that right?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
humming and vibration, which,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So humming, you mean by humming a sound?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
It was
So
audible.
and the
And that's the thing.
vibration, did you
Yeah.
experience the vibration as external or internal?
Exterior. Yeah.
External vibration.
Right. And that was the thing that my neighbor who lived behind me. So, like typically in, Fridley, imagine backyards, it's not that far away. But she basically felt the vibration and she heard the humming too at the same time. And we do believe that we did talk about it at one point when we were probably about 4 years old. And I kind of questioned that because I'm going to tell you, I also wonder about vortexes and wormholes because I'm very much into that is how actual space travel happens. It's a whole nother thing. That's a whole thing we can get into. But I talked to her about that. And so when I saw Travis Walton's story, and a lot of these things, a lot of these stories I heard, like now we have TV and stuff like that, but a lot of it I just didn't really take in. Oh God. And we have
Oh,
to talk about Close Encounters of the Third Kind because what I was going to tell you about these little guys and the tall, like it plays into Whitley Strieber and all this kind of stuff. It connects all of these things that we never really got, let me go on with these little guys. But yeah, so all of that was going on, but it's been substantiated by other people. And I didn't believe it. But then Travis Walton was saying he had a humming. and a vibration. So that to me was kind of a witness thing of like a shared event of like, oh, he had that too. Because typically I'm like, my experience must be wrong because everybody else is getting these silent things. And I have witnessed other silent things, but whoever was visiting me at the time, I think was probably kind of the same clique that Travis Walton experienced. I hope that
Okay, so
helps.
no, it does. Now, so the next question is, have you ever had experienced an overall body vibration in other circumstances?
No,
Okay.
no. So this wasn't this wasn't in my body. This vibration wasn't in my body. It was like my bed was shaking. So this wasn't
Oh, okay.
internal at all. This was like my bed was shaking. It was shaking around me. It,
Yeah, I
it
have
was
one
like the
for
room was vibrating. Not me. Not
okay.
inside of me.
All right.
Mm-mm.
And I have one final question. Do you feel that your experiences are participatory in that? Do you feel you are a co-creator of the experience?
Uh, okay, I could say on an ethereal level, because who and how I am in my belief system as an entity that's come into this form in life, I believe that on some level I must have agreed on it. And if that's not true, then my parents must have agreed on it, or somebody agreed on it, and or it was just the physiology of where I was and or the physiology of that I have the gift that's been given down to me from my relatives, who had the gift, if you want to call it that. But I'm going to go back to like other people such as Matilda McDonald, blah, 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 whatever, talking about telepathy. I have a feeling that, and I don't know if that thing is true or her story in any of this, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if it's true, but I do know that I have this gift of telepathy. And I think maybe that's why, if they are aliens, maybe that's why I was chosen, because they could talk to me. That if they were running up and down the Mississippi area, going between Ford Motor Company and up here at TCAP, they found me. I was highlighted because I had that capacity.
One more question, if you please. Do you feel that you meet people that you instantly feel simpatico with?
Oh, gee, Monday, Christmas. Everybody,
Interesting. Thank you very
everybody.
much
I
for your
appreciate it. Thank
courage
you
and
so
your
much.
candor.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for your courage and your candor. I appreciate
Oh,
it.
I appreciate it. No, seriously, I'm just going to say, I don't know. I don't know. And that's the whole thing. Because, like Tom said to me, why do you think you? So, number one, and in my book, I would welcome the diagnosis of being psychotic. I would welcome to be schizophrenic. I would welcome to be all those things. I have gone to many therapies and stuff like that to say, am I okay? Like, am I okay? Is this real? And as a child, I sat there and thought, oh my God, what's wrong with me or something? Why is it me and not these other people? And I always had to have a litmus test. And that's kind of why I feel like I try to keep very scientific as far as like with MUFON and stuff like that. I'm only what I've experienced. I can't say about other things with other people. I want to keep it locally to me. And I just want to get back really quick. Let's go back to these little squiddy guys who transformed and they're walking in, and that's disturbing enough. Like, can you imagine like somebody, can you imagine first of all a person just coming into your household at night? Okay, this is what I'm talking about, coming out of the cosmic closet. Just picture yourself going to bed tonight, going to sleep, and suddenly somebody's in your bedroom. And somebody's in your bedroom and you're incapacitated somehow, whatever they did to you. And then they're doing these things to you. And what if they look really weird? And what if this happens year after year after year? Are you going to talk about that? I chose not to as a child. I mean, I kind of knew this was crazy. I had that discernment. And maybe that's why I was chosen too, because my one son, who was born on 11/11, I mean, my children are like wise. I looked at them and I'm like, holy crapanoli. I'm like, you're too adult for me. I'm like, wow, you are wise. But I think I might have been a wise child too, because I just kind of knew these things. I don't know why I was chosen. I have more questions than answers. And maybe it's a confluence of all these things. But seriously, the Twin Cities area is a hot spot, or it was in the 60s, because you have to think about, we had the Bay of Pigs, we had the supercomputer, we were running towards a level of really bad things on this planet. And in my book, I go into talking about Ronald Reagan and his speech, and I really look at the words that he said about human beings and praying and all this kind of stuff, because that was very upsetting for me. I mean, here I am as a child, and I'm listening to politics and stuff like that, because a lot of it was upsetting to me, because I took it very differently. I took it very specifically. I took it very globally. I took it very galactically. It's very upsetting. Can you tell? It's just very upsetting. Thank you all for listening. It just is very upsetting. So here we are. I'm going to go back to that moment in time. I'm laying in bed, and these things are coming in, and they shapeshift. And I have a whole nother chapter on shapeshifting. And a lot of what I wrote in this book, I wrote it as it was and as it is. But now that I've put it in that book, there's another level of what it all means and where we go from there. Okay. So here we are. These little guys are coming in. And I look up and I look over my feet. And there's this entity. And well, first of all, I don't see it. I see this it almost looked like the it was smaller, like the dental thing, like when you went to the dentist, the dental light, and it kind of had that iridescence, like a shell, like albacore, whatever. It was a little bit bigger. So that was kind of disconcerting, because I hadn't been in a, surgical, what is a little bit bigger, so I would say it was about this big. Okay. And so if I'm laying here, it was there and it was that big. And out
Well,
from
when you
underneath.
when you say it's this big, you're still sharing your screen, so we can't see that.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Boop-a-dee-boo. I'm sorry. Can I get out of that? Stop share.
You should be able to.
Okay. Yay. Oh, I'm sorry. Blah, blah, blah. Because I'm being all active with you guys. So anyway, I'd say it was about this big. So it's this big over my feet, blah, blah, blah. And out comes this face, and it's smiling at me. And I'm going to tell you, number one, this is the first time ever, and any of you ever, this entity had a black Speedo. It was like, so his hips were about this big, so the Speedo was about that big, and smiling. And it's skinny. The arms were probably about this big around, and it's like, coming at me, and it's coming on top of me. And okay, so up until this point, I was looking at the guys coming in, my head's over the bed at the foot, I kind of try to like move, and I can see my husband, and he's out, typical. And I'm like, holy shit. And I can see, and then there's this thing. And I really tried to get my head up, because I'm at the point in my life where I'm really trying to fight this whole, frozen stuff. And this thing comes out, and I can see the Speedo and all this stuff. And, I go blank. All right. So for me, so much of my life is like the next day, like nothing happened, blah, blah, blah. And I'm gonna like, back in the day when I was a little child, it'd be like, there was a voice that said, just remember, try to remember. But every time I tried to remember, and it was a fight, it was like a balloon string. Like I couldn't remember. And then something would say, remember. And, or I wouldn't remember, because I wouldn't remember the night before, but I would have physical differences, working, like, disrupting electricity and all this kind of stuff. And I would say, oh, I must have been visited the night before. Or they would be in my window. I'm like, oh, here they are again. That was my world. I don't remember my mom telling me baby stories. I don't remember her cuddling me. My first so many informative years were of gray aliens, and that's disrupting to me. It's upsetting. I'm sorry. So anyway, to this thing. Here's this entity, blah, blah, blah. I black out. Wake up the next morning. My head is at the pillow. And number one, I'm going to tell you about this whole scenario. My husband is a light sleeper. If I snore, half the time he kicks me out of the bedroom. I just basically purr. He's a light sleeper. He can't handle it. If I move, I'm wiggling too much, all this kind of stuff. I hear a lot of complaints from my husband. So the fact that my head was at the foot of the bed, that is not happening without him waking up. Not happening. And the fact that when I woke up in the morning, my head was on the pillow and he still didn't wake up and complain to me, that's another huge thing. So here's what happened. I wake up because after my husband and I, like I told you, after we were intimate or whatever, we're, modest. All of my clothes were on the side of the bed in a puddle. And I'm going to tell you, like a sandwich. So here's the deal. I'm not that person. I'm not that fastidious. If you're in the moment or having daiquiris, you're not going to like be very particular. But the shorts were there. The underwear was in it in a round circle. The bra was inside the t-shirt in a circle. The socks were underneath. Everything was as if I had melted away. And I was naked. And that is not a thing. That is not my life. And so when I looked at it, I went, oh shit, that happened. That's real. That's real. That's a confirmation to me. So, I picked up my clothes, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So for many years afterwards, I'm like, okay, well, they must have taken my eggs. And it wasn't until after I written my book, because as I write my book, I say this many, many times, like, oh my God, this is just coming out. I'm just realizing it. I'm just realizing it. And that is completely true. I would just things would just come out, like that little girl that I was showing you in the picture. I didn't even realize that. And we haven't even gotten into when I got a tag at the back of my rear end during the day with some gray aliens. I was like, all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my God, that was my dad's boss's yard. Of course. Okay, so let's go back. I got so much, I got to tell you this. I can't even. So anyway, back to this scenario. So I'm looking at it and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, they took my eggs. And it wasn't until I'm writing the book and then I'm talking to another woman. And all of a sudden because she was kind of talking about, I'm sorry, abuse and things like that. And I was like, oh my gosh. They have my husband's DNA as well. I mean, if they're taking DNA, they have it all. So for me, I'm going to tell you, I'm coming out of the cosmic closet, and this is almost going to make me cry. What are they doing with that? What is happening with that? Because if the government knows about this, or somebody knows about it, or something like that, number one, I kind of joke about it in the book. I would have liked some cocktails and maybe a steak dinner or something like that first, maybe ask me or something, because right away my mind, I read Dune. I don't know if all you read Dune. I was a little upset that the books ended, the guy died, sorry. But I love Dune, all these kinds of things. And I'm kind of like, you have my DNA. What are you doing with it? And today it's even more crazy because I'm like, are you using it for organs? Are you cloning them? What's going on? Because my mind goes large and it goes galactic. So I really have, I'm a little upset with that. Fast forward, I'm still writing the book. And, I'm a little benign. I'm a little slow to click on some stuff. Okay. I just am going to admit it. He's going to be, oh, that's a clearing. And any of you who do spiritual work, that's a clearing. So I'm watching Close Encounters for like the millionth time, even more than Harry Potter. I'm watching Close Encounters. And I'm pretty much finished with the book and I'm watching it. And it's like with new eyes. I mean, I've seen that movie for a million billion times. And here comes the bay door. And I'm going to tell you, I've been at that bay door. I've had out-of-body experiences. I write about it in the book. there's a lot that's going on. But anyway, I'm like, oh crap, there's the bay door. And, all these, people come out, the humans, from World War II, and the government's like, hey, George, welcome back. Welcome back, Margaret, all this kind of stuff, la la la. And then what happens? I'm sitting there watching and I'm basically falling apart. And I'm like, all of a sudden come these bubbly, like these bimbly babies, these short little baby entities. And I'm like, oh, crapanola. Cause I'm like, is am I connected to that? And then I had forgotten about it. Here comes this tall guy, right at the end of the movie. Hollywood disclosure. Here comes this tall guy. Now, this guy in this movie is a little bit bigger than the guy that I encountered, because the guy that I encountered was probably about 6'5", maybe something like that. But in the movie, he's probably about 7 or 8 feet, blah, blah. And he's all like, boo, 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 boo. Yeah, I don't buy any of that. Whatever. He's boo, boo, booing. But I'm like, oh crap, here's this tall guy. And then all of a sudden I'm clicking, I'm like, okay, we got Jack's skeleton, we've got Mrs. Peregrine's children. I'm like, if you start to look through all the movies and the disclosure and stuff like that, you're going to see this tall alien type thing. And it was disturbing because I'm like, I'm putting all of these pieces together. I don't know what it means. I kind of do. I talk about it in my book, but I'm like not really wanting to disclose it. But Tom asked me to like keep it to the things that I've personally experienced, and these are the things that I've personally experienced. I wouldn't say that I met these aliens. I've never seen a description or a picture. I saw something close to these little, I call them Sigmund sea monsters. I dug into like this thing about pictures of aliens, and I dug because I'm like, I've never seen a picture of these guys. Never, 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 never. I'm digging, digging, digging. And this woman had, there was somebody that had a picture, a sketch. And I reached out to her. I'm like, hey, and she used to be from the Twin Cities area, and she's got like her own big thing. I'm like, hey, I've never, like, that's the first time I've seen a description or a picture of this alien before. And she goes, yeah, why? What's up? And I'm like, well, I saw them. And she goes, in like a hot minute, she was interviewing me. And then the next day she was apologizing to me, and I'm like, what for? And then she's like, oh, the whole video blew up because all these people were talking about it, blah, 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 blah. So that being said, fast forward, I don't know if I saw this movie or not, but Whitley Strieber, there's like Ancient Aliens TV show, or there's all these alien TV shows. And so this was in like the last 2 months. There was one of these alien shows, and they were talking about Whitley Strieber, who I'm connected to in a way. I'll talk about it in a minute. So anyway, but they were showing kind of like his movie. He had a movie, and I might have seen it, but like I have this disconnect. I basically have a disconnect. I don't want to, So if I saw it, I don't remember. But in the movie, there was a scene where there was these short plug people and a tall, skinny guy. Now, the short plug people that were being described in the show were kind of like chubby, fat, roundy, more like trolls or something like that. But you know what? For me, they shapeshifted. They went from spiky teeth to round to help me so that I wasn't afraid. And maybe this is how they shapeshifted and showed up for Whitley. And in the moment when he saw these guys and they had these cloaks, mine did not have cloaks. Okay. He saw cloaks. That's his first time maybe seeing clothing on an alien. I only saw the black Speedo. But in his description of this movie on this TV show that I saw was a tall alien as well, the tall, skinny guy. So, like, here's the thing. I have all these questions for everybody, all of you, like, is this something? I don't know. And, that's the thing. I don't have answers. I have more and more questions. And how many people have seen these short little guys and then the tall, skinny guy who must be controlling them or something like that? But so for me, it's like I experience it, and then outside in my 3D world, I start to see it. And I don't think there's any connection. I just think that these things are real. I've experienced it. They're showing it, if that makes sense. Sorry, that's just like a big letting that one go. You know. Yeah. So I mean, coming out of the cosmic closet, would you want to tell this to people? I mean, I don't talk about this at all with my husband. He's not read the book. He just basically doesn't even know what the title is. I'm like, you don't want to know. My kids know because my kids have experienced some things. My neighbor down the end of the block, did I talk about the microchip that came out of my neck? She witnessed it. Yeah. No, I don't want to talk about it. That's why I've waited till I'm 62 years old. I don't want to talk about it. But all of a sudden I'm like, well, if you've had all these things happen and you don't tell anybody about it and you don't share your information, that's bad on me. And in my world, how I come from, that's evil on me if I don't share with other people what's happened to me. I've kept it because I wanted to be a normal person in society. I wanted to be a mom. I wanted to be a wife. I just wanted to be normal. But and again, I'll just say I'm very jocular. If you know me, I bring a lot of love and light because I feel like I've faced reality and it's not easy. So anybody else have questions? I would love to hear them. Oh, hi. I don't know if I can hear.
Yep, I've got a question here.
Oh, there you
She's
go.
asking you, well, she says, thank you for telling your story. Can you tell us when your last contact was, and was it recently, or have your contacts slowed down?
Great question. On point. And I talk about this in my book. Well, I think I'm a dried up old prune. And I think that's what happens. I think after I went through menopause, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to say this right now. It's just not alien experiences. I've had other supernatural experiences. I've had, like I've told you about vortexes and things like that. I kind of feel like I've done my servitude. And once I've gone through menopause, and see now my sleep is more disrupted, but I'm getting more I think more wisdom things. I'm not seeing so much boy, this is a big subject. I'm not seeing so much of the Star Wars that are going on, but I think the Star Wars are not going on as much. But I will tell you about the alien tech that comes over through the portals. I'm going to tell you really quick before we go. The portals are opened up through frequency, which is why the didgeridoo and throat singing, those people were trying to open up the vortexes, which were in the ancient society because they heard the humming and the vibrations. And so the people of those cultures tried to recreate those to call in the gods. And so, but I think I'm a dried up old prune. They got my eggs. What more do they need? I've done my service. But for me now, I think my service is just to alert others and tell them. But I'm going to say there's not this thing that was going on. I think a lot of the alien interactions and contacts and the UFOs, it's like it's calm. There's a difference. There's a difference. It's not as much. It was very much more explosive, but we had bad pigs, we had the Soviets, we had a lot of boiling with atomic things going on. I think we were being witnessed to make sure that we didn't blow ourselves up, because I'm going to tell you, I don't care what alien is, what life form it is, and I'm going to tell you that the aliens have been here since long before us. Duh. They don't want us to blow ourselves up, because we are a pariah on this planet, the human species, and we're kind of stupid, and they're trying to like make sure that we don't do something stupid. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I'll throw this out there because I think it was Sherry Wild who spoke to us. I think it was, but I could be wrong. Might not have been Sherry, but we had a speaker speak to us, and she was saying that she was told because she was a regular contactee, regular abductee, ran in her family. She challenged them on one of her abductions, and she said, "Well, why are you doing this? What's going on?" And they told her, "You agreed to this before you were born."
Right,
And her daughter was being abducted too, and her
right,
daughter told them that she wanted them to stop, and they did. But
right,
she didn't tell them to stop, and it continued. So I was wondering what your thoughts were on that. Do you think you agreed to
right.
something before you were born?
Right, right. And I said that I said that very quickly. Sometimes I talk very fast, but I did say that earlier on that it could have been my dad's contract, but I do believe that when we come into this field as entities. Okay, so hang on a minute. Oh, big disclosure. um man, I don't want to talk about this. I'm gonna put this in a really general term because this is gonna brush up a lot around a lot of people because a lot of people talk about reincarnation. So there's been something that I've been working with, and you know, I kind of feel that there's a lot of us on a soul level that we are immortal souls. That humans we have a bio entity or form that we have, and other species do not have a bioform that disintegrates in the way that ours does, and that we are being held collectively with an electronic shield, and we reincarnate and bounce back and forth and stuff like that. And if you come into this realm, it's upon agreement. And that to me is very esoteric, and it's like something that I wouldn't discuss with MUFON. I've like, if you want to get into space travel, wormholes, what's way deep out there in space, travel, Bigfoot, all these kinds of things, because a lot of people will say they're not connected, and I don't want to connect them, but they've been my experience. There's things that I've written in the book that I didn't really realize mean certain things that I'm discovering myself about my book after I've written it. Um, so yeah, I mean, if there's nothing else to say, I'm going to say that being a member of MUFON, being who you people are, if nothing else, your life is way more exciting than the average person because I mean, the average person eats a bunch of, you know, sour meatballs, watches football. I love Doritos, all these kinds of things. But our lives are richer because we kind of have opened up our minds to the understanding that there could be something else. And how do we prove it? How do we prove it? Yeah, that is the thing. And I think like with the whole David Muir thing, you know, Tom and I were talking about this earlier. I'm like, yeah, of course they came back with there's nothing to say. That's the government's take right now. And I'm fine with that because, you know, like let's look at this, you know, there's such gaslighting. I mean, how much gaslighting? Let's just look at ancient art and ancient religions. There's full disclosure there. Something happened at a certain period of time for some reason why the Homo sapiens were not allowed, you know, it's a control issue. We're not allowed to understand anymore. And we just take it. We can't go to some Egyptian antiquity and look at it and go, I think that's an alien thing. You know, no, you're told you're wrong. So I don't understand the gaslighting. I don't understand the gaslighting in our you know, religions such as Christianity with the whole I believe in the visible and invisible. And to me, the whole Christian thing is like you know, a virgin birth. I'm like, oh, come on. You know, I don't want to get into all that, but I mean, I had to sit there as a child by myself and look at this because there was no adult to help me. So I had to sit there by myself and piece these things together. And I think I did a pretty good job. And I looked at what, I mean, I tried to look at all the legs of the table. I tried to look at, is it military? Is it something with me? Is it something with this land? Is it something with this planet? You know, I don't want to believe in a lot of things. I have to have a certain amount of something solid, which is what I respect with MUFON, which is why there's a lot of things out there. Like my husband's like, "Oh, you probably believe in this and this," and I'm like, "No." And why would you think that? I'm very much egregious to a lot of this. So if I don't experience it, I don't believe it. And but there's so much I've experienced, and I don't even want to tell you what I've experienced.
Well, yeah, I got a few people on the chat saying they do want to hear more of that kind of stuff. So I say let it roll. But I know Ivor's
Yeah.
got another question for you. So I've unmuted Ivor, so he wants to ask you a couple things.
So interesting, interesting synchronicity event. Just as I was about to ask the question of you, you mentioned the Nicene Creed and the visible and the invisible. I take it you are Catholic, Dana, or you were raised Catholic?
No, so I was brought up Lutheran, which is like a bunch of hot dish, and so the Nicene Creed. So literally, as I was going through like 3 and 4 years old, I'm understanding this, and it just was like outrageous to me. However, I'm going to say I looked at the religion, what was being presented to me, and I'm talking about I'm judging this, and I'm going into what is that preschool thing? I'm already salty. I'm sorry, pissed off and salty going into preschool. Okay, how old are you? 4 or 5, something like that. And because I already know, and I'm like, what you got? So there's a lot of the Old Testament that rang true very much for me. And I just like clung to all of these kinds of things. And then just going forward, I met other modalities, but I'm going to tell you in the 60s and 70s, we didn't have a lot of bookstores. We didn't, our libraries were very dry. So literally for me as a teenager, I'm in theater and choir, and I'm a bubbly person because I'm excited to be with humans. I'm excited to be alive. But I'm going to tell you in my quiet times, I'm, in 8th grade and I'm sitting on the floor. Nobody told me to do this. And I'm reading the Bible, and I'm reading it over and over again because there was some truths in there. And now my faith, I married a man. He's half Greek. So we were married for about 10 years. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna, I'll become Orthodox because I was very Christian, very much this Christed energy, very much. But as I went through the Orthodox faith, I became non-Orthodox, even though I went through my chrismation. However, recently there was a disclosure about, is it Alexander and his mother? No. Wait, Constantine. Okay. So here's Constantine and Helena, and they are the creators of the Christian faith. But I didn't realize that. They said that Constantine was in battle and he saw overhead like an alien event. I did not know that. I did not hear about that. And I just learned about that about a month ago. And so then, okay, here's what you need to know about me. I am open to discussion, and I'm open and ready to retrack whatever I thought. I call myself a sorceress, source energy. Let's go back to frequency source energy, which is what all of our atoms and everything are made up of. And then coming through that, I discern. And I think anything that I might have believed in a minute ago, I am willing and ready to say that might not be true. So I let go of my Christian faith, but I do believe there's so much truth in it. And I'm finding more and more truths. And like that whole thing that I was saying to you a little bit ago about this alien technology, I think a lot of Christians would describe it as the firmament. So what is the truth? And so I'm saying, as a Christian, you could say, here's the firmament, or as a biologist, you could say, yeah, there's oxygen, and oxygen when it's at this level, or it's a gas, or it's a liquid, it will be blue. We can describe these things with different legs of the table. But all of a sudden I'm like, oh, oh, is this alien technology and there's a shield that's keeping us here? Are we being enslaved in that manner? Because I'm willing to entertain those thoughts. Because also Star Trek was going on. I mean, bless their heads. Thank God. And that I could sit there, I don't know if you grew up in the Twin Cities area, but I could watch Star Trek, and right after Star Trek, I think it was on at like 3 o'clock. After that, it was about 5 o'clock. What is it? The Twilight Zone came on, and then they had like that window and stuff, and then boo, 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 and that scared the shit out of me. I had to run out of the room. I couldn't handle it. So anyway, I hope that answered your question. I know I talk a lot, but thank you.
Yeah, we got some people really giving you kudos. They love your speaking style. They loved your book. They love your writing style. And a question that they threw in there was, do you believe the government is involved beyond just covering up alien existence?
Okay. So here's the deal. Oh, yeah. I gotta share a screen again. Oh, this is so hilarious. You're gonna love this one. I'm gonna share a screen. Boop, boop. Hang on. Oh gosh, where is it? Share. Hang on. Let me see if I can show it. Oh, here we go. I don't know if you can see the whole thing. Okay, here we got Space Force. Here we got the signing of Space Force. Hilarious. Look, you can't see these other people. Okay, we got I don't know if you can see my cursor, but we got Pence over here. He's throwing down the horns. We got Trump, like for the first time, kind of kerfluffled. We got this guy, and we got I'm sorry. We got what I'm gonna call the Anunnaki. Which of course they're gonna be right there for the Space Force thing. So here's the deal. Here's where I come from. Remember, I talked about source energy, and I'm gonna give the Bible, and I also give kudos hugely to the Hindus, the Hindu religion. There's so many ancient religions. You just got to look at them. I mean, like, it's all about disclosure and stuff like that. So, all of these people say, and God, there was this whole thing. There was this, this Matilda O'Donnell McElroy and stuff like, this planet is, I don't know how old it is, goes back billions of years. I don't know. What we're experiencing is just a breath in a minute. It's just really, really new. Do I believe, in my book, I write about Eisenhower, and it probably started with, who's before Eisenhower? What's his butt? Truman, whatever. I think, this is back right leading up to the time of when I was born, I do believe there might have been an alien disclosure. We have Laura Eisenhower, who talks about some of this stuff, and missing time, moments and everything like that. So what I believe is that there might have been some disclosure. They might have brought the leaders in. They might have talked to them. But here's why. Because it keeps the peace. Okay? It keeps the peace. And I want the peace. I don't give a rat's patootie if the Anunnaki or the Dracos or whoever are here or this or that or the other thing. That's nefarious. That, you could say, is fairyland. I don't care. What I care about is keeping the peace right now. Because here's the deal. Once you pour Mr. Bubbles into the bath, there's no putting it back into the bottle. Once that genie comes out, we're not going back. And I feel like, I'm sorry, but I feel like there's a lot of disclosure because we're being groomed. We're being groomed to be like, here's the deal. Here's the deal. Because I watch all these shows. I'm like, this is true. This is not true. This is, blah, 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 based on my experiences. But let me tell you, after the whole COVID thing, I'm going to tell you this. I love toilet paper. I like having toilet paper. I like having Doritos. I like having some wine and meeting my friends. And let me tell you, if they disclose the scrub, because I'm going to tell you, I personally feel there are aliens and they are control of the government and always have been long before the humans. But the grays and stuff like that's scrub. That's just like and all these people, they entertain this thought, kind of like entertaining zombies. Oh, I'm gonna get into something right now. Like entertaining zombies and stuff like that. And we can all think about it and we can think that that's fun. And I get that because we live in a Netflix generation and stuff like that. And like, I'm eating my popcorn and isn't that fun? And that's great for like a week. But after that, don't you want your toilet paper? Because guess what? George isn't showing up to work at Charmin anymore, and Margaret isn't making Doritos anymore, and I have a hard time with that. So I kind of like how things are. I kind of like the copacetic things. Is there some rotten stuff that's going on underneath? Yeah, there is, but isn't that true with every regime? Oh my God.
Yeah, and I got a request, and then a question that kind of ties into what you're saying. So the request is, please talk more about frequency and shape shifting when appropriate. But the
Mhm.
question that kind of ties into this is, why do you think the aliens interact with people like you and not with national leaders like our president and members of Congress, etc.?
Right. So here's the thing. A friend sent me this video recently. This Matilda O'Donnell McElroy, 1947, blah, 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 blah. I'm sure, I mean, if you don't know, you should know because you're a member of MUFON and stuff like that. Because, like, I'm new to this group, but I would assume a lot of you would be more up to date. You can't really get this interview. Oh, and there's this video, this alien video, like this, like that is so much baloneyism. That's hilarious. I just love it. So, but this Matilda stuff, there's some truth bombs. Well, I mean, go back to your question again. How did you state it?
Yeah, and I want to so there's another question that came in afterwards. Tell a little bit about the scrub if possible. But the question was, why do you think the aliens interact with people like you and
Right.
not with national leaders like our president and members of Congress?
Right. Okay. So number one, they do interact with our government officials. And also in my book, I will talk about like presidents, not the last couple of them, but back in the day, after about 90 days, you would see a president's hair go white. Okay. Go back, look at it, look at it, look at it, and they would go white. And I think that was from when the disclosure would happen to them. A lot of them just, they're just normal people. They had no idea. And shock will make you go white. Actually, please go and look at it. Every president, after about 90 days, after they've had their indoctrination, they go white. I do believe they're being exposed to, hey, here's the deal. And you have to follow what we're saying. Okay, let's go into like there's this thing called the white hats and stuff, and everybody's like, and I've dealt with the white hats, I deal with the white hats, I work with the white hats, all this kind of stuff, blah 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 blah. And everybody's like, why aren't the white hats helping us? The white hats work galactically. They don't give a rat's patootie about what's really going on this planet other than protecting it and stuff like that. So frequency, 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 frequency. That is my jam. That's my thing. That's why I'm a source. Let's start from the point and the ray. What happens after that? So everything is frequency. Our bodies are frequency. This is all, you can say scientifically, an illusion. Anything that is solid. Let me make this point. As far as healing or prayer or any of these kinds of things or thought forms, wavelengths, it is also illegal in the United States to use sound as a weapon. So if it's illegal to use sound as a weapon, then couldn't sound be used to heal, which says to me, they know something about frequency and vibration, right? Right. And isn't that splitting the atom? Isn't that what the large collider is about? They know what's going on and they're working with it and they're trying to open up a vortex and okay. So number one, I'm going to tell you this right now. Putting yourself in a tin can and, whatever, that's not how it happens. And so the disclosure is, Back to frequency, it's through wormholes and vortexes. And that's how, so you see all these little scrub, little like, like Corbin, whatever his name is, blah, 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 Jeremy Corbin. You see all these little scouts, you see these little drones. But a little drone isn't going to come here from a billion million miles away. It had to come on a mothership. And do you think that mothership is really going to go through all of that wear and tear on its body and stuff like that? Or could the disclosure be a little bit more like Dune or Star Trek, and we're folding time and space? Because I'm going to tell you, I have worked on things in frequency in my own of folding time and space. It's a whole nother thing. But as a child, I always thought science is going to prove religion. And science today is proving religion. And frequency is the religion. And atoms and all these kinds of things, if you go back to the basics, if you go back into science, if you go back to all this stuff, you can see how these things can happen. And people judge and they say, oh, it's this way, or it's this way. And I'm here to tell you, it's all the ways. As my mother told me, whatever we can imagine, we can't even imagine what God imagines. It's just fantastical. So while I am limited in what I've been exposed to, all I can tell you is what I know, and what I've experienced. And in my book, I go into larger details on other realms and everything. And because I believe us as humans, we need to know what's going on. And once you kind of get a grasp of that, once you get out of like just work a day every day and all you care about is sports and Doritos, we go to the theater and we think, oh my God, wouldn't it be fantastic? This whole Star Wars thing. Dude, we're living it. We're living it. And once you accept yourself into that community, once you broaden yourself that you are an alien on this planet, galactically, that your body is made up of frequency, I mean, it's wonderful. It's amazing. It's everything you wanted, everything every scientist ever wanted. When you're sitting there hoping and wishing to find the truth of something, my God, science is finding it. Any other questions?
Did you want to talk more about shape-shifting or the scrubs? The concept?
Yeah. Okay. So, this Matilda and stuff like that, and I don't know this Matilda O'Donnell McElroy, 1947, blah, blah, blah. And her interview, I don't know. It's probably fake, but there are some truths in there I pinged with. And the whole shape-shifting, and that goes to frequency. That also goes to Native American things. Okay. A lot of our indigenous groups understood shape-shifting. They saw it, they knew it, it was common. It's our society that doesn't know and or trust it. There are exercises if you want to experience what shape-shifting is or holograms are. I write about them in my book. They are a little dangerous, but they are real, and you can experience them, and you can experience how you can interact with this subatomic level. And I think in the Native American tradition, they feel that the shapeshifters use our frequency and energy to shapeshift for themselves, like how we see them. I'm not quite sure. I would say that their bodies and how their makeup is, we live on a more 3D, solid, dense environment. They work on a more energy level, higher level, which is also how they can travel differently. They don't need as much as we do. That's why the Earth experience is more dense, and we're more, for lack of a better term, enslaved to it. Because if we don't have these density things we can't exist. They don't need that. A good way for me to describe it to you is like if you looked at an amoeba. An amoeba is still a bio entity. Theirs aren't. They're more just carbon. I don't know how to describe it, but that's kind of the thing. It's on a level of 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 where you're sourcing your energy from, which could also, I don't even want to say this, which could also be biblical if you wanted to translate the term of, God, I hate to see this, manna, you know? And I really hate to go down the whole religious realm, but it seems as if a lot of the religions, and I'm not just saying Christianity, it's Hinduism, it's Buddhism, a lot of these, there's a lot of um, teachings that we need to go into, to relearn, to bring forward, because I think if you don't have that spot, if you know mathematics, you have a spot and array, and you're not going anywhere if you don't have that spot, right? So we need to look at all the legs of this table. Okay.
There's a really long comment, and actually, Hope, I'm gonna ask, do you want me to unmute you, Hope, so you can ask directly? Do you want me to do that? Just give a thumbs up to your comment if you want me to do that. So I'm assuming she wants me to ask this question. So she says, filling in a detail, Matilda O'Donnell McElroy top secret interview transcripts and personal notes were received from the late Matilda O'Donnell McElroy. And oh, here sounds like she bottom lined it. In your opinion, how and why did humankind forget so much?
Oh, okay. Well, and it goes into what she talks about because okay, let's go into this firmament thing. Christians call it a firmament. I'm not sure. There's just something going on at that level. But in her in those transcripts, they talk about that the Greys were one, there were the domain or something like that, and then there's the old empire. So the old empire, whatever, doesn't it sound a little bit like Star Wars? So the old empire started to dump different entities or souls into this program called Earth. Also, the program of who we dumped were more artistic in nature, is how she describes it, which could be true. So they were dumping, and so then we recycle, we hit the firmament, this firmament, we go to the light, we think there is so many of my dear friends, we're all trying to like break out of the reincarnation element, which was a part of Christianity until the Nicene Council took out reincarnation because they didn't want you to know about it, is the way I look at it. So there's this reincarnation which makes us enslaved souls. And so when we bounce up, go to the light, you're zapped, as described by Matilda. Matilda says you're zapped, you're wiped clean, you reincarnate, you're given a bioform, and you're back on Earth. And what I'm going to say the difference is that us versus them, the beauty of us is that we can manifest. We are able to, with our thought, word, and deed, you think it, and then, you imply it, and then it's you speak it, and then it's a deed. That's why we're kind of dangerous, because we're able to manifest things, which means that we're able to manipulate things, which is where if you're out there, let's just go crazy and just say, if you're an entity and you're out there and you're able to zoom around and you're able to control your craft with your brain and you're very artistic and stuff, you're dangerous. You're a good pilot. So let's get rid of those people. So how do we do them? If you're an immortal soul, you can't kill an immortal soul, but you can enslave them. And so we've been dumbed down and we're stuck on this 3D realm. So we're kind of imprisoned if that makes any sense. And I know it sounds crazy.
Okay, I'm looking for questions in the chat. Seeing no questions. Any questions in the chat? If you got them, now's the time to ask them.
Well, I'll just say, I'll wrap up and say, I want to thank all of you. And I want to thank you for this community, because I've just seen smiling faces and lovely people, and people that I don't have to say this is going to sound weird to, because I imagine that a lot of you have had certain experiences. And there was somebody that was posting earlier about going out and doing UFO sightings. And now that I'm like so much older, 62, I will be in April. It's really hard for me to go out. Like when I was a little girl, I used to go out and, first of all, we're like, oh, there's Sputnik, so you could sit and seriously in the 60s, you could see the 3 satellites that were going above, and you could time them. The UFOs back then, and I witnessed them every time I stargazed, like they'd be jerking around and doing all this kind of stuff. And, that's a whole nother story. People aren't looking up. Is that by design? So what I want to say to all of you, get out there, start looking up. And I would say to you, if you want to see an UFO, this is from my thing. I would ask you, if you want to see this, to take your frontal cortex and just think it, pop it forward. I know that doesn't make any sense. Just pop it forward and just look up into the stars and be like, I am willing and ready and able to see something. And I think that is a calling card. And I guarantee you'll see something. Because like in my experience, I pretty much almost never go out at night and don't see anything. It's less and less now. Like I said, I'm an old prune, but I'm also living, when I'm in the cities, I don't see so much. But I'm going to tell you, if you want to see it, if you want to, if you dare, that would be the beginning of that. Just welcome it, go to a dark area, pop your frontal cortex. Like it's almost like sending a laser out. It's a infrared thing. It's almost like sending a laser out to say, I'm open, willing, and able. And I guarantee you they will pick up on that.
Yep, absolutely. I've heard that many, many times. So I'm getting lots of thank yous in the chat. So I want to thank you too. I think it was really good. So
Thank
everybody
you.
give Dana a big round of applause. Round of applause for Dana. Yay! Woo!
Round of applause for you. Thank you for listening to me, because I know I'm really weird and it sounds really crazy, and I can't talk about this with many people. So, I mean, this is like a therapy session. What do I owe you?
Well, if you're going to say you're weird in this group, you got to bring the receipts to prove, because we got some heavyweights in this group. So no, Cam, I'm just kidding. So
Right. And I can smell bologna. I
Yeah,
can smell
right,
bologna.
yeah.
And I like fried bologna. I like fried bologna sandwiches.
Okay. So, all right. So thank you everybody for showing up. Thank you, Dana Lewis, for being here. So next month we'll be at the New Brighton Community Center on the second Saturday of the month, and check out her book. This is going to sound weird, and an awakening memoir by Dana Louise. So, but just like Dana said, as I always say, keep your eyes in the skies. Thank you for showing up. Move on, and we will see you next time. I am out of here. Bye-bye.